Welcome back, everybody. This is your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson. Guys, I'm very sorry that I was a little late getting over here. I know we have people that have been waiting on this particular topic and waiting. I was talking to Don Clip, so he actually owes me an apology. Paulina, if you really want to come on tonight, let me know, Paulina. I'll send you a link. I think this is good to have maybe a woman in the chat for tonight's show. But we want to talk about, and we're going to have some other people joining me. Should Black men spend their time mentoring in the community? And I was just on Search for Uhuru's channel, and we were on there with SubZero 3639. So, guys, before we kind of get to this, get the likes so you guys know how we're doing. There's always been this particular, and Rusty, you're more than welcome to come on too, brother. So this is going to be a group hangout, and I'm just kind of getting it started by myself because I have people waiting.
I'm here.
You're there. Oh shit. Okay, so shout out to my boy with the aerodynamic flat top, Scotty.
Right. Got eight on my high top. I'm Kendall Gill in this motherfucker.
Kendall, what's up? So Edward Anderson. Okay, guys. So and Rusty Balls, my brother, man. Rusty, if you want to get on Paulina, we have some different people that's going to come on. But welcome to the show, everybody. Let me kind of start with Dynast, man, because I heard your video when it first came out. Obviously, there was some mentions of another YouTuber who he responded and wants to debate you, but that's another story. But let me talk about, we've been first talking. You've been talking about these dusty Black men who have been wasting their time bashing Black women on YouTube. Let's kind of start with that because I think this is where it all stems from to a certain degree. Let's talk about that real quick.
All right, yeah, we just and O'Shea, thank you for joining us on our previous just the hangout we just did. Sorry for running over time and making you late for this one. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's just we have Black men who spend all day on whether just on social media in general, just bashing Black women all day, but not offering any type of solutions to I guess address any type of issues in the Black community. And it's to the point now that it's like either you're gonna man up or just shut up. You know what I mean? But hey, I mean, obviously there's a market for that. And I'm not gonna hate on your hustle, but I just have to call it out because again, you're not bringing anything to the table to the Black community, the Black collective. So why just sit and bash Black women all day? And then another issue I have is, and I brought this up in regards to Black women. Okay. They'll bash Black men all day. Black men will bash Black women all day, and then they'll go outside of the community and date others and get treated like shit. Mm-hmm. But they won't call out these other communities that treated them like crap. So that's just the issue with it. It's just, I think we as Black people sometimes hold our community to a different type of standard than other communities where we go to and get treated like shit. So that's pretty much what we're talking about over there.
I just want to know because JJ makes a good point because you said man up. I don't know. What do you mean when you say when you say man up? What do you really mean when you say that?
I think again, when we're dealing with Black men who just spend all day bashing Black women, I think it's just sometimes you have to look at yourself. You have to look in the mirror. And really do an inventory on, okay, is there anything that you really can offer the Black community? Okay. Are you yourself a dusty Negro? And I think once you do that and I think better yourself, then you can come back to the table and really see if you're nothing more than a reflection of the Black women that you're bashing or not. So, and that's a lot of it too. I just think a lot of these Black men are just a reflection of the Black women that they're Black bashing.
So let's talk about that because those women are a reflection of who they are bashing. Okay, now this is This is a good point. It's hard to get away from this, but let me kind of go to Edward real quick. Edward, you were just on the and shout out to Edward, because Edward is always, he's like the most known unknown YouTuber of all time. Like, he's like the number one most known. And Jay Miller podcast, you know you got to come up in here, player. Don't make me search for you too long, my brother. Go ahead and bring your ass up in here, man. We need you up in here. Edward, are these black men wrong, though? I mean, because, you know, black men have their gripes with black women or something like that, and we all understand, we've all been through them in some form. Do you see that these black men who are making these videos, are they complaining in your opinion? Is he there? Can you hear me? Dennis?
No, I hear you fine. I don't hear.
What's going on, dog? Okay, Edward, man, you got that nigga wireless. Let me go back to.
But this is the thing. Like, okay. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat room. I'm not saying that black women should not be critiqued. Hell yeah, they should be critiqued. Black men should be critiqued as well.
You critique him. I mean to cut you off, but you critique feminists all day.
All day. Yeah. Shit, did it today. You know, I'm always critiquing certain factions in the black community. Always.
Yes.
But sometimes just, you know, I'm not doing videos every day like critiquing black feminists. You know, I think it's just certain things need to be critiqued, and then you need to offer something of value and move on. So, and then address it when needed.
Let me ask you this: when you say offer something of value, like, okay, what is it that these guys could be offering? Because you say offer a value, can you be more specific as to what you're talking about when you say offering a value?
I mean, I just the other day I had a brother come on the page and speak on investment strategies, like investing in forex, investing in cryptocurrency. Had another brother come on and speak in regards to like job opportunities for those who needed them in Africa. And then, I have neighborhood groups here in Atlanta I work with, as far as one is called We Cycle, that really helps out disadvantaged youth in the community here in the west end of Atlanta where I stay. So things like that, I just think it should be balanced. Now, there it is. I think a lot of these brothers are lacking balance because, again, I just think when we have platforms like this, you could critique the black community. I mean, absolutely. But then offer something of value or some type of solution that can also better individuals who are watching or listening to your platform. So I try my hardest in regards to investment tips, just how to make money in certain industries, whether it be IT, how to invest in Africa. That's something you're interested in. I try to, bring just topics and subjects of value so brothers could be in a position where they could feed themselves and feed their families.
Okay. And shout out to my boy. I want to say his last name. I'm echoing. Let me see. It's my boy, man. We went to high school together. It's one of my best friends in life, man. Love him from Grant High School like me. So shout out to my big bro, man. He's a year above me. We've been through a whole lot of shit together. Some funny stories. Me, him, and Boobian actually Dinus. So, we got a story. We went to San Francisco one time that we'll talk about a little later. But let me get to my man, Edward Anderson. Edward, you take yourself off of mute, man. You there? Edward, what's going on, man? You got nigga wireless, dog. Ed, come back. Click off and come back. All right, he gonna click off and come back. All right, SubZero. Let's see if he can come on now. Okay, SubZero, unmute yourself, brother. Man, what's going on, man? Y'all got the mute virus? Niggas got mute AIDS.
I'm here, man. I'm here.
Okay. Shout out to my man, SubZero. SubZero, man, good for you to be in there. Let me ask you this, man. I heard a response video to the video that you and Dinus did earlier. I won't mention the YouTuber's name because I try not to, you know what I'm saying? But I heard it live when I was actually in the chat, and then I heard the replay. You made a statement.
Really? I didn't know nobody did a response.
The person that you was talking about.
I didn't know there was a response video either. I love to hear it.
Yeah, it was a response video.
I'm sure he just went and dropped a bunch of statistics, and like he always do, that same boring shit he always talk about. Go ahead.
But there was, I don't really agree with certain things and aspects of this. I'm echoing for some reason, but you should pour yourself into these communities. I did hear that, and that's the topic of today's show. Should black men spend their time mentoring kids that are not theirs? What's your perspective on this?
I personally, and really, man, it's really like let me say this, man. It's a noble thing. So it's like, should you hold the door for somebody when you're walking in or something? It's like, I can't obligate you. Like, you don't obligate somebody. So it's like, I just would deplore and encourage brothers to do that because I see the benefit. And like Donis, I have these Pan-African leanings. And, although I'm a Christian, I still have those leanings for my people. I love my people. So for me, it's an honorable thing to do. So I'm not going to shame a brother and say that if you choose not to, but the opposite of choosing not to care or not see, O'Shea, you're different. You're not, you like me actually in a sense, because you saying let's help black men. In helping black men, you build patriarchy. So to me, I'm good with that. But when you say I don't have to do shit, then that's a whole different ball of wax. Now you're talking about not giving a fuck about the community. Mm-hmm. That's different. So to me, that's my distinction. So it's an honorable thing, but you're not obligated. You don't have to go back and do it. But it is an honorable thing. But if you want to pour into black men, however, if you want to do what you're doing, the Negro Manosphere, whatever you want to do, you know what I'm saying? But do something that benefits us as a whole collectively. Okay. And I'm actually a pro. I'm for capitalism. I believe in capitalism. I'm not a socialist. I can't stand communism. But at the same time, I understand collectively as a whole, black people need the benefit of us as men in leadership roles, however that may look. You know what I'm saying? Now, I didn't want to get no war and shit like that with nobody because, so I'm damn sure going to go listen to that rebuttal, whatever you want to call it.
But it was, let me just say this real quick, and everyone's going to come back. Here's what we all share on the panel. I think this is a representative of many of the guys that follow me. I think, I was talking to Tony Maceo when I was in Rio. I think I have an audience of, black men between the ages of like 28 to like 50, guys with a pretty good middle class or upper middle class income, guys who are, my guess, educated or business owners that have a big trucker following. I mean, I think our situation comes with this, SubZero. And Edward, put yourself on mute real quick if you can, bro. Our problem is that we come from a community that people say they've never helped us a lot of times. A community that is not provided away from for us. So you have a big stigma there. You have also a stigma that you had to work so hard to get certain places, and when you come out of those places, now it's different if you're trying to help a brother who is coming to you for help, or a brother that's different. But it's like when you're trying to go back to these places and what you come from, those places that are sometimes crime infested, because that's every black person doesn't come from the ghetto. Believe it or not, most black people, they know somebody in the ghetto, but that don't mean they came from there. I don't think because I know a lot of upwardly mobile blacks. With black people, we have some families in ghettos. I don't care from the rich or the elite or whatever, and we all go to black churches and ghettos and shit like that. But that doesn't mean that we necessarily come up there. But I think for those of us who do come from ghettos like myself, when you go back to these places, you remember why you left them. Do you understand? And I think that's where I think most people may be having some gripes with what you guys are saying, because it's like, okay, you black men should go back into these communities and with these younger boys who are younger than you that are coming from these decrepit environments, these dysfunctional places, spend your time helping them. I don't think any black man has any problem with helping another brother who wants a leg up or who's trying to get himself together. And I think all black men understand that that's something we should be doing. But I think going into these places that are heavily democratically ran, policies are fucked up. and going back and helping, let's go ahead and try to help and mentor these black young kids. I think that's where the issue may come in. And that's, I think, what this subject of today is talking about. Is mentoring younger youth. Go ahead.
Oh, let me ask you this. So I think I think what can keep this discussion going when unnecessarily is, and it's cool. I like discussion. Like, I wouldn't be on here. But what I'm saying is, I think we can create false narratives or straw men arguments inadvertently because we don't get into the weeds of the specifics of what we really mean. Like, for example, my class that I teach online to teach brothers in the IT, I'm not physically in the community. I'm not being disrespected by Pookie and Ray Ray, who might want to try to start a fight or something like that. So it depends on what you mean by going back. That's a broad statement.
Okay, no, it's a good point. So what we can discuss that. That's a great point, because what we're doing on YouTube is powerful. Let me do this. Go ahead. You can hear Edward. Let's go to Edward.
Okay, finally. Oh man, track phones suck, y'all. Don't go through that. Anyway, I'm good now. Whenever you want to, let me.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Weigh in on the topic, brother.
Well, one thing, and what SubZero, what you said was very important, because me and SubZero we've gone back and forth on this online to the point where SubZero is like, damn, you turned up today, and I've had to fall back because I got a whole bunch of wax in my ears, so sometimes I go off a little bit more than I mean to. But here's the thing, man. I'm kind of on the other side of this too. I'm with you, O'Shea. The reality of the situation is, I would employ, both you and Dynas. What's up, Dynas? Shout out to all y'all.
Bro? What's going on, bro?
Be more specific, because what happens is, what I'm hearing, and Dynas, I'm gonna be honest, I've been definitely respectful as I can, but I've been in your comment section, leaving comments trying to break down a lot of stuff, because what I see also this broad overgeneralization on the other side. And I understand why that is, because a lot of times people are thinking about, I guess, Obsidian and the whole brigade of I should get a dime without doing nothing. I should get a dime female without being a leader. And I don't think anybody on this panel believes that. So you have that train of thought, but also you have me that's in the middle, where I'm like, look, a lot of these guys that are complaining, they're complaining for a reason. Now, a solid percentage of them are dusty as hell, and they need to get their shit together and shut up. But it's also a lot of dudes that have legitimate gripes, and what happens is folks are way too dismissive of those issues. People don't even look to see, okay, what are the issues that folks are doing, so I can take back to either women or dudes that are in a lesser privileged situation, so you can meet them halfway. For example, SubZero, you said you do all these classes and stuff like that, and you do that, and I respect you for that. Also, you do videos that people have called you on. I've personally witnessed this. But at the same time, all those people that got in contact with you, they took a step. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they took a step. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't that you just put the apple right in front of them and then put their head on the desk and made them eat it. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And the reality is, with O'Shea here is a whole bunch of people talking. This is what we're getting is, well, we got to put the water in them. We got to make sure, and do.
No. Edward, let me say this, because I actually talked to the three students that called me today that's trying to sign up for my next class. Yeah. I told them, I said, I have students. I had 20 students in my first class, right? A lot of them fell off. They can come back, and I said they opened them. I hadn't told them yet, but they're welcome to come back and take the next class. Maybe it was too much. It was overwhelming. People, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Critical mass. A lot of, I think the guy last night, what's his name? Tony Maceo was on here, and he said that, you only need a small percentage to really get a rebellion going and to get revolutions. When you talk about the American Revolution, it was only a small percentage of people that were really Minutemen and actually went out and fought against the British. It takes a small percentage of black people to really change the community, like a critical mass. And so what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to get to that critical mass. Now, am I saying that if I go in the hood, first of all, I don't even want to fuck with the hood. I can't stand Pookie and Ray Ray. I think they fuck up the community. I think Pookie and Ray Ray a lot of times take the property value down. I wanted a quadruplex I wanted to buy. We pull up, motherfuckers staring at us like they want to fight. Shit like, I don't like niggas like that, right? So I'm not one of those proponents of Pookie and Ray Ray. But I'm saying that for the most part, we just need to get even however we can get there. That's why I said going back is a broad statement. What does that look like? That doesn't necessarily mean you, Edward Anderson, going in the community trying to teach Pookie and Ray Ray who don't want to do shit but stand on the corner and sell. I ain't got shit to say to them niggas.
Okay.
They lost causes.
Okay, no, so I think we're clear on where he stands. Let's go to Dynus, man, because Dynus, you have a vision also for blacks. I mean, not only in America but worldwide. But let's kind of get to Edward Anderson's point. And I think what he's saying is that the black men who we say are complaining and are whining about and talking about black women, you made a good point that these guys are talking about, you know, women that are probably a lot like them in their respect. And I wouldn't disagree with that. But I think Edward is right. These black men are having gripes about it. And when they're talking about it, these gripes are true. And it seems like, you know, when black women want to say, you know, certain things about us and whatever medias or forums that they do, it's totally okay. Nobody says, why are you black women talking shit about us all the time when they make us into certain pejorative characters on, you know, because black women do a lot. They do a lot better bashing the black men because they actually have the influence in some of the movie industries in the black, you know, plays and stories. Oh, they fuck us up. So it seems like when the black men are responding to how they've been treated and how they felt, and they're doing on the same pace. The thing I think Edward's saying is these guys have legitimate talking points, and they do. I mean, I believe that they have legitimate talking points. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, and I'm not denying that they do have some legitimate talking points, but it's like when you spend all day just on these talking points all freaking day, you know, then I mean, I think there's some deep rooted issues, and you might need to go seek professional help. You know, okay. Like it's just this is the thing, O'Shea. There's too many women out here. It's too many. I mean, it's too many women, too many black women out here. I mean, a lot of these brothers that all they do is complain about black women. Sometimes they haven't left their immediate communities. Sometimes they don't have passports. You know, I can't. That's not my fault. Like, you know, go see the world. Go travel. You know, again, it's just way too many women out here to sit here and just do non-logic emotional thought pieces on black women all day. And then a lot of times too, if you really break it down and you find out, you know, if you look at the type of women these guys are attracted or going after, then you'll be like, okay, well, what the fuck did you expect?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times these guys are making terrible decisions. Just here we go, O'Shea. The same way a lot of black men will criticize black women for picking the wrong, for picking Ray Ray. Okay. A lot of these dudes will don't want to hold themselves accountable for picking Bonquisha. Yeah. And so I think a lot of that is the issue as well. They want to play the victim role. Okay. That's what it is. A lot of these black men that spend all day bashing black women, they're playing a victim role or the victim card, whatever you want to call it. Whatever these conservatives say to black people that bring up slavery, you know, stop playing the victim. What is it? Stop playing the victim card. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're playing the victim card. That's what they're doing.
Okay. But go ahead, SubZero.
No, I mean, I agree. I think I kind of, to be honest with you, when me and Dynus were talking the other day, I talked about the Red Pill documentary, and I said that I agree with it. It's really sad. Like I said, I agree with it. I said that, you know, the society is really kind of geared towards right now is tilted unfairly to women, and women get to not grow up and be adults. They get to be childish and do certain things, and society festers and bolsters that point, you know. So that to me, it's waving that flag. Hey, man, I don't disagree with So it's not like and personally now, I don't think that me and Edward Anderson talk all the time. We don't disagree on that shit. I be agreeing with him a lot of times on the phone when we talk, when we chop it up. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, and as we as black men listen to YouTube a lot of times, and that's where I agree with Dynas, it's like, damn, can you talk about empowerment? Mm-hmm. Can you? Well, I mean, of course, some people don't give a shit about the black community, so they're not going to talk about empowerment. They just want to talk about black women. But I'm saying in general, like, if you really care about your community, like brothers talk about, hey, this is a way to make money. Like Edward Anderson wants to talk about internet. That's his thing, the internet and how. We had a three-way conversation with me and a friend of mine, Tyron Spear. Go check him out. The brother's on fire with the internet. Edward Anderson put me on to Glendon Cameron with the Hustlers Kung Fu. I didn't know nothing about that. So it's cool. But then Glendon Cameron has Disruptive Male, where he talks about the good, the pros and cons of black women and the bad things. He deals with it all, how to deal with them, what to do, how to do it. So it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to say, I think Dynas, I hadn't listened to all his videos, but I'm sure he had videos talking about feminism and the destructiveness of feminism in the black community.
Of course.
And then he turns around the system and white power structure and talks about how women have, the unfair child support system and how is messed up. But then he'll probably turn around and say, hey, let's not hate, so I think it's a balance thing. That's all. I think that's all we were saying. I don't see why anybody had to make a response to it. Because I guarantee you, I hadn't even heard of it, but I'm sure the brother's probably saying the same thing I said, but they ignore that.
Let me say this. Some certain YouTubers, somebody's okay. I just want to say this before we get back to Edward. I think with us is as progressive guys who are, because there's a lot of guys who say that they're progressive when it comes to YouTube. There are a lot of guys who say that they do this and they do that. I hear that a lot of times in black YouTube, and a lot of guys spend a lot of time in their YouTube videos talking about what they are accomplishing or what they have accomplished. And when I hear certain talking points from certain black YouTubers like that about what you used to do, what you're doing right now, and if I don't see any evidence of what you're doing, I don't give a fuck about what you're talking. Like, to me, I like speaking with what I'm doing, right? And that's how I judge a person. I'm a doer. I don't really sit around all day bragging about what I'm doing or what I'm about to do. You have a lot of guys that are doing that. But at the same time, a lot of these big time talkers are not doing anything but just talking. And guys like me, Dynas, yourself, Edward Anderson, I know Dynas personally. We are, we wants to go to Africa. I'm in Africa. I want to go to medical school. I'm in medical school. Some of these dudes, we're expecting them to feel like us. Like, why don't you provide certain? Because that's how we are. We're solution-based men. We are men who are, we care about whatever our respective demographics, and we put our money, we put our time and our effort into our platforms to create situations for our subscribers. There are people who are on YouTube in the black YouTube community that are not on YouTube to create the same situations. And to us, it's foreign because we're black men that are trying to do something. And when we come across guys like that, we don't understand why they don't do that. But the thing about it is you have a lot of guys who are, number one, they're not going to change. Some of these guys are 30, 40, almost going 50. I would suspect these guys have always been losers their whole entire lives. Some of them, they've never been progressive because progressive people have certain progressive things that they do. You can tell a person who's a progressive person, a person who's not progressive at 40 or 50 has never been progressive in their life. A person who's doing something, you can see elements of what they're doing, even on their YouTube channel. You can see a person's YouTube channel tells you a whole lot about them, whether you know it or not. You can tell a whole lot about a person by watching their YouTube channel of what they are offline. And I think with us, we got to stop getting upset, or not upset, but a lot of guys are not going to be talking about the things we're talking about. A lot of guys don't care about investments. A lot of guys don't care about their fans understanding how investments work. A lot of people don't care about their fans, how to travel to Africa or how to do IT. They don't. You know what I mean? And but at the same time, I do still think that to certain points, there are situations that are addressed, but again, addressing it all the time is bad. But let me talk about go back to Dynas real quick. I don't know if I skipped. Did I skip you, Eddie, or did I skip? Let me go to Eddie. I'm gonna go to Dynas.
Hey! Before you say that though, let me say this one thing real quick in a phrase. Civilization is based on solutions. Like,
yes,
Tesla, the inventions, Thomas Edison. It's all about solutions. There's a problem. He said he had 1,000 ways. He found out how not to make a light bulb. Civilization is based on solutions. You won't have you can't build a civilization. Keyword in build. What is your use if you ain't gonna build shit? If you ain't gonna come with any solutions, then now you actually are making a case for feminism, because women can say, well, we're equal. Well, shit, if all you bring to the table is a dick, actually has a point.
You're actually right. And just all I want to say is before we go to Edward, civilization is versed off. Like, a lot of these guys think that they're building something and they're not building shit. I'm gonna just keep it real. You got a lot of dudes on YouTube or in the black communities. They think because they can build with a large vocabulary or a large thesaurus. See, in our community, you don't actually have to do anything. All you have to do is fucking talk. Okay, that's all you got to do. All you got to fucking do. I'm going in right now. All you got to do in our fucking communities is just show up and just start fucking talking and bamboozling people with the way you build your fucking phrases and words. That's building to these niggas. Literally, the black community is the only fucking place on earth that you can talk about what you're about to do, what you used to do, and niggas will not challenge you on that, because niggas are not used to anybody doing anything fucking functional. So,
ouch.
What'd you say? Am I still here?
You said ouch. You hurt them.
I said ouch. I said that's some good shit. That's some venom. Go ahead. That's all I'm saying.
That's the fucking truth. So these guys can come on here, talk about what they would do, what they used to do, what they are doing. These niggas have never done shit in their motherfucking life, ain't never gonna do shit in their motherfucking life, and gonna die. And on their tombstone, here lies a nigga that lived all his life not doing a motherfucking thing. That's what but you can actually get big in black YouTube, but not doing a motherfucking thing. So when you get guys like us who are actually really about action, then you push these guys into a fucking corner, and see, that's the thing that we got to understand. A lot of niggas about running their fucking mouth. You know what I mean? A lot of these niggas shouldn't even be getting fucking taken serious, because all their life they just been talking shit. These niggas are pussies and they're not going to do a motherfucking thing. That's just really the reality of the shit. Nobody wants to say this shit. That's really what the fuck it is. My niggas coming out. Hold on, Lord Jesus. Let me get back to my white boy voice. Let me do this real quick.
That's right.
Let me do this real quick. I got a shout out to certain people donating. Spot on, Dan and Mentor, Reno, Nevada, $20. Game Changer 00100. It is complaining to say low quality women are influencing your daughters. Dr. Chris, shout out to the Negro Manosphere. Jay Miller Podcast could make it on, but dropped me $10. Nope, that's the responsibility of the nut she picked to knock her up. Let's talk about that. Robert Morris, I'm with O'Shea. The black community, especially lower income black women, wouldn't appreciate mentoring. I want to talk about that. Also, J.L. Edwards, help those who want to be helped, push for programs in rough communities, but be wise about it. Emphasize STEM trades and the other careers which pay. Mr. Stick likes to instigate beefs and keep himself relevant. Dog, eat dog. Why not force the fathers to take care of their kids? Eric P. What up, Caesar? That's me. Caesar Manosphere, as they call me. I'm just joking, y'all. I don't want nobody making videos. He called himself Caesar. All right, let me just do this real quick. Let me go to Edward, right? Edward, I want to change the topic real quick. Okay, because SubZero talked about number one, if there's a boys club, right? And there's a young man that his father's not in his life. Okay, so some brothers feel like, listen, I'm not wasting my time going back and helping these young boys, you know what I mean, at all, because it's her responsibility to choose the right man. And like some guys say, she ain't choose me, so why should I go back and do it? What's your take on that?
I mean, okay, so there's an individual answer and there's the group answer. The group answer is, what I would tell sisters, and I got a lot of female cousins, is you all need to hold accountable who you sexually validate as a group. So the reality is, if you all are having kids and having babies, like Jason Black says, that you're not supposed to reproduce with men that do not produce. And a big reason why the standard is so low for Black women and they get the quality men that they get is quite frankly they shun a lot of dudes that produce, and they attract a lot of dudes that don't produce. And then they choose to notice I didn't say have sex with. I said you actually choose to reproduce with them. Right. And then you have this double thing where you think you're going to find a man later on. Kind of like if you were a football player, you're a running back, and you take your best years and you screw around and think as you starting to fall off when you get in your 30s, that all of a sudden you going to get a great contract. And then you wonder why am I not getting the contract? This is how Black women have a culture of dating habits. Now, do all of them do that? No. Because we also know 20-25% of them are married, but the majority of them do. Now, as far as the individual perspective, I think that on the last hangout, SubZero said that a dude he wanted to get into the real estate game was clearly showing that he had the initiative to do so, and he had a dude that was basically cop blocking him because he was on that I don't want to help. Jason Black said he had that problem too when he was younger.
I had that problem too.
I absolutely disagree with that, and that is bullshit. If you see dudes that are showing you that they are ready and willing, then you need to throw at least throw them a damn bone. And that's why I respect people like what's the dude's name? The e-commerce dude, SubZero. You know what I'm talking about? Your friend.
Tyron Spears.
Yeah, Tyron is out here. When you understand how much money he makes and some of the wisdom he puts out on the videos that when he does get on people's hangouts, man, that dude can charge a heck of a lot of money for it, but he doesn't. It's because he has a spirit of wanting to help. Like I said, SubZero has that. O'Shea, that the Negro Manosphere is the spirit of that. Me, when I can disseminate information on that, I can't tell you how many times I've told Black men and Black women about the NACA program and stuff like that. I can't tell you when I am chilling out doing Uber and I get young dudes in the car, I break this stuff down, a lot of stuff. It's classes in session. And they don't roll my eyes. They listen. You know why? Because I'm very good at meeting them where they are.
Right.
Like I'll tell them, like I know that they love sneakers and stuff, and they'll start laughing thinking I'm about to tell them about something. Like tell them about themselves for buying shoes, because people know how I am about spending all your disposable income on shoes. But I don't come at them like that. I say, who am I to tell you what to do? But whatever you do, make sure you're doing it smart. And I say, don't be the dude buying shoes, be the dude flipping the shoes. That way the shit pays for itself. And I actually I told this one dude, and he was so thankful. This dude was like 18 years old. We got 2 outlet stores in the area that we're in. We got one in the north and one in the south. I'm talking about factory outlets. I've gone to both of them because on the low, I'm about to start hustling some of these things and reselling them. I got some Michael Kors and Coach bags and say, if you love your mom, you're going to buy this. That's what I'm on. That's real hustling. I showed this dude pictures on my Dropbox of all these shoes at the Nike factory, and he was lighting up because he know what brands they were more than me. And I showed him the retail, and I showed him what the price was. And he knew those shoes were worth more than that. I said, don't be the dude going in them stores buying $500, $600 dollar shoes. Be the dude that you got those shoes, but you also are flipping those shoes. And then I was actually meeting him where they are. And that's the problem that a lot of brothers don't have. They have this thing where they want to wag their finger. SubZero, I know that's not you. Glendon Cameron is a good example of somebody that does not do this. But you know the thing, like older dudes that are wagging their finger at Black men saying, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. When these dudes are like, you did that shit when you were young. So now that you an old ass nigga, you want to find religion? And then you're not even going to give me this is how you not do that? And you know what they had? You know what? Fuck you, old man. And then they bounce off and then they shut down on you. You see that on the barbershop a lot. So to close this out, yes, you should help dudes, and not only help dudes, meet them where they are so you can bridge that gap.
Okay, let me just do this real quick. No, good point. Let me great points, Edward, as always. Man, the super chat is raining in here. My man Aaron Ferris, $20 super chat. I talked to him like almost every day when I was in Brazil. Got a story about him and me, but I ain't gonna tell her right now. You tell her right now. That's what we got between me and him. Man of tomorrow, $100, man. You know, this is a $100 Patreon also, man. Brother always supportive. I will say this, man. This is the only dude. Y'all know, Man of Tomorrow is a dude that he's a millionaire dude. He came onto my show last Christmas and was trying to tell brothers how to start a fleet. This brother offered, and I'm sure he might be saying, man, what's the staff for the Negro Manosphere? Man, I'm gonna just pay it this month. I mean, that's this like, in my staff is at least $25 a month. And you just gonna pay it. So shout out to the brother, man. If you want to come on, brother, because I know you've been on Mr. Research hangouts and shit. So you know you're always welcome over here. It's hard. I gotta get a invite, every 4 months. But research, you over there all the time. But if you want to come on, man, he says simple answer is no. As a dude who is a part of many boards of nonprofits, I need to do a video on this. If you you can come on right now, man. We love to have your experience on this. Larry Mallory, people, thank you for your donation. People know the social safety net will catch them, so there is no incentive to have sexual responsibility. Okay, Dynas, let me ask you this real quick, also, brother.
Go ahead.
You want to go? You want to go? Because let's look at it as a greater scheme of things. I just came back from Brazil.
Right. I've
been in Africa, only one country. The situation with African women having babies out of wedlock is if it's not as worse or the same in America than it is over there.
Right.
Do you have African kids who are probably in poverty because, the same situations is happening over there all the time? Young women having babies out of wedlock. Let me ask you this. Whose responsibility? I'm not saying that SubZero is saying this because he's not, right? But whose responsibility as a community is it up to us to take care of these kids? I mean, in America, or from a Pan-African perspective, when these women make, decisions, or these young men, like.
Well, I mean, I just think it's, I mean, if you live in these communities, I mean, and again, I'm not saying you have to simp. I'm not saying you got to play the, fall victim of the, you ain't no real man if you don't want to take care of another man's kids, none of that chump stuff. But again, I just think black men, if you live, because I mean, the community I live in Atlanta, it's it's transitioning, but it's still predominantly black. I don't want to say it's the hood, but it still has that element. But I just know that you, as black men, we have programs where we have programs for kids, and it doesn't matter what kind of background they come from, if they have a father in the home or if they don't. But we just offer resources and programs for those kids because we know that by playing a role in these kids' lives is going to keep them out of the system. Okay. And then also too, to keep it real, by like my buddy Sean he has a nonprofit called We Cycle. He has a program where he provides lawnmowers, lawn equipment for these kids to do lawns, which keeps them busy, which keeps money in their pocket. So to be honest with you, so these Negroes ain't breaking into our houses. So, I mean, I just think you have to address each community, because it's, depending on if you live in these certain communities or not. So again, it just really depends on which community you live in, but going to the YMCA, coaching for these inner city football leagues, it's not simple. Like, I mean, you could do that. I mean, that's fine. But at the same time, I guess the issue with a lot with the black community here in America versus Africa is, like you said, there's really no code of conduct. So, it's just unfortunate, but we really can't get on these women and tell them to stop doing what they're doing. I mean, of course, some make a mistake once, but after that, it's like, look, I mean, you shouldn't be having any more kids until you get married. And we can't really hold them accountable. I mean, we can, but again, you got dusty feminism, you got liberalism that will come and shut us down, versus in Africa, you can hold these girls accountable. So,
right. Say it again.
Here in America, in these communities, black communities, inner cities, you can't hold these females accountable because there's a I guess a safety net, yes. Whether it be government assistance, dusty feminism, or liberalism, versus in Africa, I mean, you can hold them accountable.
And see, let me stop right there, right? and this is what I'm saying. Like I said, just came. Brazil is very similar to Africa. Like there's not a lot of social programs. That's why a lot of brothers tend to deal with women, or if they move over there, they know the women have an incentive to be more loyal to them because if they live there, right? Not if they live over here, but if they live there, you know that out in Africa, if you fuck up, that's on you. I think that this is the problem with black men going back, right? The women, have already all of they have more than we do. You know what I'm saying? So if we give them that plus our own time and stuff like this, and it's almost like, well, all right, number one, we already don't need you. MOT, I'm saying right now. We already don't need you as it is. Plus, since we don't need you, we're gonna get your time plus all the other benefits. Like, what positions did that make? That doesn't make black women have any respect for black men. It's like I can go fuck whoever I want. Shout out to Odinga, man, out in Brazil. Hooked up with him too when I was down there. I can go fuck anybody I want. And then after I fuck with anybody I want, I can call, Dynast. They'll be receptive to me. I can call Edward Anderson. I can call SubZero. And it's like, and us, we have a good heart. And you guys know me. I love black people. I love the black community. I ain't gonna lie. If somebody called me and said, O'Shea, my son is this, and you call me and tell me that, it's gonna be hard for me to tell you like, no. That's just me personally, right? But I would want to say fuck no, because I have a heart for my folks. I mean, it would be hard. I would be trying to tell him, look, do not listen to her at all. But what I'm saying is, when they know they can do that and play on our emotions, because they know that we love our folks, they then use it against us, and that's what I'm saying. A SubZero. Let me ask you, can you respond to what I'm saying right there? And man, tomorrow I'm going to send you a link. My big bro out there. So just go ahead, SubZero. You weigh in on what I just asked about,
No, I co-sign what you say 1,000%. I think that you have to be mindful. Like I said earlier with Dynast on his channel, there's a sister I know that's a Delta that crossed her and my girl are line sisters. That's her saying. And the father, when she met him, was he had one child, and he was a great father to that child. She had no reason to think that he was going to pull what he pulled, but she got pregnant, and he basically hasn't been in that child's life, had never met the child until he was like 8. And when he met him, spoke to him once or twice, said a few words, never said another word to him. And now he's 11, and and the child is having suicidal thoughts and saying little things like, yeah, I don't want to be here. I don't want to live, and nobody loves me. And, just going through it, and I try to help the brothers much. When I get around him, I challenge him and try to man up. I try to give him money for push-ups. Like, give me, just to try to give him some sort of masculinity. Cause, but at the end of the day, it's like, I see that she chose. And I agree with you. I think you got to choose better. And I also see the other side as well, where this dude was a Jekyll and Hyde. He was, he was one day he was this, the next day he was that. So but to me, I think this is the thing. I go in the community, I try to help, right? If you show me that you don't have the propensity or the desire to get in the community and help and better yourself, then I'm not going to waste my time. I'm teaching a class. Last week I only supposed to do class on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. I did class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Saturday I put up like 3.5 hours teaching, because I want to make damn sure they know T-SQL, the coding language, right? So I'm busting my ass, and I'm spending time teaching this class out of concern. But if they don't want to put the time in and learn for themselves, then there's nothing I can do, man. And that's what I'm saying. So I can't put it in your head. You can lead a horse to water, but if they don't want to drink, they don't want to drink.
Okay, no, those are some good points. Shout out to Matty Ghost. Matty Ghost actually dropped a donation. I forgot to mention my brother.
Shout out to Matty Ghost.
Yeah, Matty Gosby, he came over to your stream, and he's always supporting.
I'm gonna have to catch out, man. My battery dead, man. Y'all have a good night, man. I enjoyed this, brother.
Okay, well, I'm gonna probably be on tomorrow with a.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, Damn, so you always got streaming from the nigger message at the same time. I'm surfing channels. Okay, let me do this real quick. My man of Tomorrow's in the motherfucking building. Okay, it's hard for me to usually get him, y'all. So y'all better take this. You make about twice a year appearance. So y'all better write this shit down. What's up, MOT?
Oh, what's up, man? What's going on?
No, man. I actually, I'm not saying I'm shocked at your points, man. But you're such a giving person, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. Like you really try to help. I mean, even as you're probably one of the most known, like Edward, people in the manosphere without having a YouTube channel, because you're always trying to give advice or trying to help black men. But why do you say no?
I say no because your help has to come with preconditions. It's kind of like when I was in the military. Not everybody could be a Navy SEAL. Not everybody could be any of that stuff. You have to be part of the brotherhood before they kind of advance you up the ranks. So if you offer help without preconditions, it's just pretty much assistance. And these people have to be held to some type of account or some minimum level of responsibility before you even bring their child in to try to help them. Because if you're going to try to help the child and they're going back to abject dysfunction at the end of the day, everything that you just taught them in 4 hours is going to be reprogrammed back into them in like 8 hours of them going back to their environment.
Very powerful. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, there's just a simple point. All right, well, go ahead.
No. Build on that, because you said you were on some nonprofits before.
Yes, I was.
Talk about that real quick, because I don't think any of us have been on the. I don't know about myself.
I have a nonprofit.
You have? Okay, so maybe Dinah says I haven't. So speak for your perspective of why you've come to this realization and what you tried to do in the past.
Well, what I tried to do in the past was like a group. I'm not going to get too specific because I can get sued for it. But the groups would always start out black male, black kid kind of based. And then because I don't control the nonprofit, I'm just a board member who giving some excellent advice on how to get funding. I'm there to get them funding. And then once I get them funding, they no longer have use for me. So now it goes from a black male kind of having the police within neighborhoods type of situation and turn into, we're just going to help the women only, exclusively. We don't want black men being a part of this at all. And that's what most nonprofits turn into. And most people on the board kind of acquiesce towards women because there ain't no type of checks and balances when it comes to trying to help women, other than blanketly just helping women over helping men. Now, when you're trying to help men in certain areas, especially the South, they want to see some return on investment. They want to see businesses being built and everything else. But as easy as it is for a woman to get funding for a business from the federal level, it's easy for her to get SBA loans. It's easy for her to get, there's too many grants on file for women who want to be in business, right? Mm-hmm. Too many on file. But there's nothing there for men. Like it'll start off as something for men, and then it'll immediately turn into something for women. Mm-hmm. And when you have like this conversation that we're having is a 0.00001% black male conversation. Most dudes that get around women, they immediately acquiesce to them immediately. So they have no self-control, and they know as soon as they get one of their quote unquote people on the board, that immediately the goals are going to flip, the mission is going to flip, and most of the men just go in it for the women and the women that they be around. And that's what happened to nearly every single nonprofit that I've ever been a part of. And I've walked away from a lot of them for the same reason, because they want assistance, not help. Help is going to help you get out of the situation for good. Assistance is just going to move you from one plane of existence to another. They just want the assistance. They don't want true and actual help. Because if they get true and actual help, they got to let go of the dysfunction that brought them here in the first place. And that's too high of a plane for most women. because there are mostly women who just drop their kids off, and then you become nothing but a boys and girls club for dysfunctional kids, and that's really not what most nonprofits are about. But that's what they become about very easily. I mean, it's very sad and unfortunate, but you have to be able to have preconditions for your help.
Oh my God.
I think what the brother is saying, man, is this is another insight, man, I haven't thought about, and this is why I'm so black male oriented, just like Man of Tomorrow is and Mr. Research is, because I think it's a very dangerous thing. I'm gonna just go to before I go to Dynas. It's a very dangerous thing to try to say like the one brother that was here, Reality Temple on Earth. He's an interesting brother, man, because he believes in helping both people. You cannot, man. You have to only. To me, I only believe in helping black men. I don't believe in helping nobody else. And that may sound crazy for the reasons why he just said that. You know, and I think it's very important, man, to know that black men don't get help. Black men are behind. Even if you are trying to help them, it's going to end up helping a lot of times. Black, you know, I didn't think about that. Let me, Dynas, what would you have to say in response to what Man of Tomorrow said?
No, I mean, I agree. I do think a lot of these programs are female oriented. You know, there aren't that many programs for, I would say, men, or even that, you know, I would say that are directed towards single parent fathers. And so, I mean, I completely agree. But I mean, honestly, I think, you know, rarely do you find a nonprofit that's really effective anyway. Period. You know, I mean, they sound great. I mean, they're sexy, but I mean, rarely are there any nonprofits that have really made I would say, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they have made like I would say that fixed all the problems within the black community, or offered any real solutions for the black community. Because again, you know, like Man of Tomorrow said, I mean, but this is pretty much all the nonprofits. They are pretty much like boys and girls clubs, where you drop the children off and they're mentored, and the parents come and pick them back up. But, you know, I guess they're not dealing with why are these kids being dropped off in the first place.
Exactly.
I don't think any nonprofits really offer that. And I've never really seen too many nonprofits in the community that really truly address that from the forefront. You know, even, I'm not gonna lie, even with mine, you know, we dealt primarily when I was in LA, primarily just feeding the homeless on Skid Row, and you know, again, but we weren't addressing the issues on why they were homeless. So yeah, I mean, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you fix the issues, there would be no nonprofits, and then I mean, nonprofits are a $1 trillion industry. So
yes,
you know, I seriously doubt that any of these nonprofits are truly intended to find the solutions to fix what's going on in the black community.
Let's let go ahead and weigh in on that, Edward.
No, Man of Tomorrow, you basically, that should be a mission. What you said should pretty much be a mission statement or manifesto, is why all black men should be black male first. And then what we do is the women that are down for us and understand that black male leadership is the only way they're going to elevate their own position, meaning they obviously get behind black men that are worthy of getting behind, because nobody is selling black women. Black women always say this. Nobody is selling black women to get behind black men that are not worthy of it. That would be stupid and suicidal. You don't ever hear black men really saying that, and the ones that do get shunned. But the reality is, black women have this reality where they believe that they can be an other. Just like how when you see a lot of mixed people say, I'm not black, I'm a citizen of the world, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, black women, but black women have the same mentality. Now, it's to varying degrees. All black women are not feminists, but you got feminist sympathizers. Right. You got women that don't know they're feminists, but if you let them talk, they saying the same thing. It's a distinction without a difference. So it's so ingrained in the culture. So the reality is, you got people, you got basically when I hear politically, let me say this before that. The black church is an amalgamation too of what Man of Tomorrow was talking about. When you look at ministries and stuff like that, which are nonprofits from churches, all of that now is centralized around women. There are few exceptions to that rule. And this is why black men are not in the church like that. And they don't see, the church does not understand that you're going to get more as far as human capital with the men getting bang for your buck, having men in there, than you are basically placating the females. But because our economy is now rotated around getting the money as easy as it can get, and that's women regardless of race. Now everything is front loaded to doing what women want because you know you can extract money from women the easiest. Dollars can be rotated. A transfer of power can be rotated from women, and even white men are dealing with that, albeit nowhere near the way brothers are dealing with. So the point is, you have a situation because if you look at the scholarship book too, it ain't hardly no black male only scholarships. It's a whole bunch of black female scholarships.
Yeah, there is.
And
It's called high school football. high school basketball.
Okay. You know, you just pulled the ABL move. You should be proud. But no, that is true. That is true. Okay, but I got you. But you know what I'm saying. Well, guess what? And that was a big issue people had with Black Panther. Black Panther was an athlete, but was he intelligent like he was portrayed? Nope. So when it comes to academia, they don't want your ass in school unless you dealing with a ball. But black women, so anyway, we all know this. So my point is, we have finite resources as black men. And as much spending power as we have, let's be honest, we're talking about all this spending power. Most of that is rotated around women because when politics say they're going to give black people resources, the rarity they say that. That's why I had an issue with ABL when he said that as far as spending power. All those resources are going to black women because they know black women don't build. They know black women don't compete. So that's why they cool with it. And now there's a culture of shunning black men to try to create black male-centric stuff, even though they know the foundation of community has to be black men because, shit, black women ain't going to build it. If they was, they would have did it by now. Anyway.
Hey, O'Shea, I have to get up in 5.5 hours. So
all right, man. No. I mean, I'm going to leave it all. Go ahead, man. I know you tired of that stream. Shout out to Dynus. Man, love the brother, man. You guys, tell everybody about the channel, fam, because you got 340.
Yeah, man. Everybody go to search for Huru, all one word. YouTube. Make sure you go there, subscribe, like all that good stuff. And shout out to O'Shea, man, for O'Shea. Like you said, man, you're the only place in the world where you can have Pan-Africanists like me, and I'm trying to think of the correct term to describe ABL and Brandon Tatum.
Black conservatives.
Shit. Yeah.
To include a dusty ass liberal.
So yeah, there you go. All right, brother.
We welcome all walks of life on my channel because all black men are very versatile group. So shout out to him. Let me get back to Man of Tomorrow, okay? Because now Man of Tomorrow, you're a very successful business person. You inspire a lot of brothers over here. You know, a lot of people respect you and stuff like that. What do you feel that, you know, what can black men do? Because obviously a lot of us were those boys that, now here's my situation. I was one of those guys, you know, my daddy was on that shit, but you know, I did have a granddaddy in my life. I was involved in church. There were other guys who stepped into my life and kind of helped me out a little bit, you know, and kept me on the straight and narrow. And so a lot of guys have been helped by, now it's kind of like our turn, I guess, right, to say if we're going to help or not. But back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of black men were community units, I guess. You know, there was a guy that, you know, taught the football, basketball, coach, stuff like that. Guys who looked out for other kids, took other kids on vacations. You know, how many college football coaches, football players talk about, you know, I didn't have nowhere to go. I stayed with my coach and stuff like that. So what do you say to black men now? You know, because some of us may have been helped by the same black men that we're talking about. What should we do now?
I mean, you know, what do we do now as a person who was helped in that specific situation? I mean, it's just that your help has to come with certain preconditions. Like you have to come to these parents and be like, look, like when the coach came to my mom and like, look, your son's gonna be doing this for these different teams throughout the year. I just want you to know that your son's gonna be in good hands, and when I need for him to come to the actual gym or the actual school to do certain things, that he's not out here doing XYZ. Now, keep in mind, I played no sports. I was pretty much a water boy or the dude who washed jerseys, but I was around grown ass men who did not accept no room for failure.
Okay.
Period. So while I may have been doing stuff that may have been seen low level, it was a major responsibility to the people who I was doing it for. Right. And my dad was always out of town. He was a truck driver too. Shout out. He's gone now. But that's that's the way it kind of was. And I was always around older dudes who actually wanted to mentor kids into be something better. Even in that situation in the Mississippi Delta, that's kind of how it was. Like you really like the dudes who played on football, basketball, ran track, who did all those things was leaps and bounds above people who didn't do any of that stuff and who was never around any of that stuff. Because that's where the leadership kind of was, right? In
Mm-hmm.
the community was around sports. And then, I took that up and I went to the military. Again, you're around a bunch of seasoned professional killers who don't want to die. And you're just a 17-year-old kid who thinks he's just a young dude who think that goodness can win the day. And that ain't what that situation is about. So once you're around good mentors in those situations, it makes all the difference for everything. But I had no I had to conform to what they wanted to do. There was no 1 foot in, 1 foot out on what was happening there. I had to pretty much do whatever they wanted me to do in those situations in order to be able to succeed until I can be able to own my own stuff. Because they let me know up front, this ain't your stuff. This is our stuff. And this is how you're going to do our stuff as long as you are with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you get your own stuff, you can do whatever you want. But while you are here, you're going to conform to these certain rules. And I was just in situation after situation where they accepted no failure. They didn't accept, I mean, dude, like the amount of trouble that you would get in for showing up to work late in the military is atrocious compared to what would happen in the civilian world.
Right.
So I never grew up with the culture of celebrating things for no reason. I was a military police officer on several military installations. I had to work all the time because I was low rank, and that's what low rank people did. They worked all the time. We was always in the community. We was always doing stuff. And I'm not saying it's the same on the outside, but this is federal law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually had to have a show and a presence to where no. What you did inside of there, you actually had to put it out on display every day.
Okay.
And you didn't have a chance to fail because there were so many eyes on you and they knew who you were in uniform and they recognized you around town. So you never really had a chance to, wild out because there's so many people who got eyes on you and who are depending on you to where you could never really fail like that. And I liked that type of situation. It gave me a lot of leadership skills because people were depending on me every day. And had I not was in those continuous situations and never would have been there, I would have been in a lot of trouble, man, because it don't take a lot to be an accessory to something and be in jail for 20 years. Just for giving somebody a ride. It don't take a lot, man.
Let me talk about this, right? Because here's what I want to say. And what you're saying is making sense, but I think we have a problem. And I got to go back to this, and I'm not trying to sound feminist minded. The reason why people can ask for our help so much is because I think the problem with black men is black men don't have we have the potential to have an infrastructure that can really help solidify. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like white people's infrastructure. Like a lot of people always think, like, oh, the black man economy got to be like the white man economy. It don't even have to be that good. Just got to have a better economy, a better something that's stable. I think our problem with us is for us to even get people to make those rules to say, if you want our support, we need to help you. We need to be able to commit these precondition things. Like as an individual, MOT, you have that. But I think as a collective of men, we don't have that type of infrastructure where people can respect. So that if they do come to us, they can say, okay, we need to respect this infrastructure. I mean, let me get to Edward real quick, and I'm gonna come right back to you, MOT, because you pick up a good point there. But Edward Anderson, do we have a problem with the lack of black male infrastructure yet, in your opinion?
Yeah, we do. And here's what's interesting. And shout out to Jason Black. Jason Black said something that was really significant. He said that one of the reasons that black men have such an issue with black women, as far as we have, problems with them giving us a disposition of disrespect, is because most black men that are successful believe that they're so rare that a black woman will acquiesce to him just off the bat, that he's a rarity being successful. But we don't understand as a group is that it actually works the opposite. White society, white men can control white women, because if you have like 6 or 7 out of 10 white men being successful, or at least connected to people that are successful, then as a woman, as a white woman, if you act out of pocket, like don't do the stuff they do, like get in the weight, the gym and all of that, you're gonna be like the 3 out of 10 that's gonna be left out. So you're gonna look stupid. Versus black women have had to learn how to cope without a black male infrastructure. So as a result, threatening a woman as an individual of excommunicating them as an infrastructure that doesn't exist does not work.
Say that again. That is such a good insight to life. That's why I got your smart ass on these shows, nigga. Say it again.
Threatening a woman of excommunicating her from an infrastructure that does not exist is not going to work. So it works against you even if you are a successful black man, because these women have created a culture around coping without basically being a certain level. So even if they throw it at you saying, oh, what a white man's ISIS code or white infrastructure is better, they don't have anything to lose, and they're operating that way. Like, for instance, in the comments section, you got women talking about women should try to build with or without a man. And I understand they mean well, but the reality is that goes back to that same philosophy, goes back to what Man of Tomorrow said, where, let's be honest, let's just keep this all the way the fuck real for a second. I don't give a damn if these black women got sons. If black women are choosing between them getting money from the government or men getting money from the government, they're going to choose them every single time. Fuck they sons. They rather that information go, they rather that money go to another black woman's daughter. And I go as far as to say they would rather that money go to another woman's daughter than they would rather that money go to their black sons. This is why it's so taboo to talk about elevating black men. The one thing Obama tried to do with My Brother's Keeper got shut down with the quickness. Not just because of white folks, because black women always co-sign it. That is why when black women always want to talk about colorism, if you notice, they'll talk about colorism, but they never talk about challenging the white beauty standard. They'll talk about colorism, but still staying side by side with white women, knowing good and well they always get the trick bag and white women get the gold. Every single time. I've said it and I'm going to say it again. Nobody has taken more from the black woman in America than white women. Yet, black women will code up around womanhood against black men. Now, that's not all black women, but that's way more than the critical mass you need to make that work. So my point is, because they have been in this culture, or that they have coped without black male leadership, now they're going to reinforce that because they've gotten to a point where they're afraid of black male leadership. And women will say things, they'll verbalize certain things, but at the end of the day, women are subconscious. When they get around other women, they're going to code up the same way the Man of Tomorrow said. Every single time. Woman first, woman first, woman first, because they don't know at this point what it's like for men to do stuff. This is why I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna stop. If you, I used to work at a grocery store, and they still do this. Even April Mason said this. April Mason said she had to teach herself to say yes when a man asked her for something. When I used to be a bagger when I was younger, or I worked in and offer to take a woman's groceries out to the car, white women all the time, older white men, whatever, would say yes. Black women have this knee-jerk reaction to say, I'll do it myself, because they prefer to do it themselves. And that whole culture, that permeates with everything that we're talking about. And a lot of women don't understand that. And let's be honest, women are not going to understand that. That's the type of stuff black men are going to have to take. And that's why I say black men need to remove every single dollar that they have. And if it's not helping another black man, either 1 or 2 degrees of separation, they need to pull it. If by helping this sister, you're not helping another black man, you need to pull it. We need politically, because let's be honest, when we look at politics, when you talk about the black community in the Democratic Party, you're talking about black women. Can't fucking tell you how many newspapers that I see talk about black women are a foundation of the Democratic Party. And that shit makes me, you know what, fuck it, I'm not voting. Fuck y'all. Y'all think y'all gonna get in office without the black man vote, with just black women? Go ahead and try that. Make me want to vote for Trump the way I see that another time. I'm serious. Anyway, go ahead.
No, brother, you really opened up a can of you and man of tomorrow, man. That's why I said I like having smart brothers, man, because y'all have brought the conversation to the table, and we do have Ghana Dan. You guys know him, another trucker, man. I'm jealous. I saw his tax returns. Him and man of tomorrow. I'm rob them niggas when I see them for their ramen noodles. So I'm just letting you niggas know that right now. But shout out to these brothers. They're both very intelligent. I think that I want to shout out to Nick Morgan for the super chat of $5. Thank you, brother. All 4 pockets full as James. Great stuff. We gotta get the likes up. I did see Paulina Johnson, NBA, very pretty lady. She's been over here participating as of late. Shout out to my brother Sinful to P and Tony Davis, my brother from Sinful to Peace channel. I think what you just said, man, really has opened up this conversation to this degree. A lot of black men, when we become successful, I know I was thinking that way when I graduated college or kind of got into medical school, like I'm different. I'm a unicorn. That's 300% of what I'm thinking about. And the thing is, I didn't have no network or no other brothers. So, you know, when women look at white men, they don't just look at this white man as an individual. They look at what he represents as a whole. You understand? When they look at Asian men, they don't look at what he represents as an individual. They look at what he represents as a whole. When they look at us, they know as a whole, we ain't shit. Even as an individual, we good. You understand what I'm saying? And I think to a certain degree, some foreign women may look at us like that too. Maybe not so much as we do, but bro, you just brought a good point up with that. So I want to give you very big kudos for your assessment. This is why black men need to work together as much as they can as a group. Let me go to Ghana Dan, man. Let him weigh in on the situation. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. Man, that brother made it impossible to follow him. In addition to Man of Tomorrow,
you know what he did? He the kind of he the kind of nigga that get up and before you preach in the church, he preach first, and you got to come behind that nigga. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like coming behind James Brown when you the Beatles or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
Go ahead. Fam.
Yeah, I used to be damn near a feminist because I always benefited from the pleasures of black women because I was, tall and successful, and so I used to hear them shit on black men all the time because I didn't have a network, and I suffered mightily because, being around women, they damn near castrating, with their emotionalism. They're not the most innovative. They definitely don't have the ingenuity gene, but as I've grown and wisened up, and I've done a complete 180, where I don't take my privilege as an opportunity to shit on black men because, again, I like I said, I didn't have a network, so I enjoyed women throwing themselves at me. Now I give a fuck about that. I'm all in on black men because if I'm not assisting another black man to be just as strong as me, I'm weak. And whiteness is a system. Arab, they have a system. Everybody else have systems. We don't have anything, but individual who have great accolades, but they're not a system. And people respect systems like Walmart, Target, these multinational corporations. They have systems. And what I would implore is black men just invest in one son that's not theirs. With a willingly compliant woman, and you lay down the ground rules and let her know, and you got to stick to it. That black women don't have an option. Nobody fucking with them, and we barely fucking with them already. Oh, excuse me. I want to keep my language clean. So it's imperative that we set a strong standard and you stand by it as a man. There's got to be either compliance or consequences. Yeah, we have to stop freely giving our masculinity away. It has to be compliance, so 100% compliance, 100% consequences, and be willing to walk away from a young boy who has potential. But if his mother is creating an unhealthy working relationship, you got to be able to walk away, because we don't have time to be fighting with these feminists and these feminazis and these women with their distorted, fucked up mentalities. So it's imperative that every brother just embrace one young man, look for ways to create opportunities. If it's a job or positioning yourself where you could refer him to get employment or some form of apprenticeship. But we got to go all in on black men, because it's in our best interest to invest in these young brothers, because the son next door can be the one who's violating your daughter or your son in these days tomorrow, because he feels powerless, he feels inadequate, and he sees your children winning. So it's almost to our advantage to insulate ourselves with a multiplicity of young men and older men.
Great points as usual, man. Like that's Ghana Dan. Let me get to again, Nick Morgan. Thank you again. Tony Davis, TD, touchdown. 499. Ron Brown, caught me midweek. Looking forward to the weekend podcast. Great discussion. JL Edwards, if you ever have an economic solutions podcast, let me stop by for a bit. There are many examples in my city of black empowerment I want to share. Okay, we will do that. In fact, it's not no secret. I actually have a think tank that I'm trying to form off of YouTube, and two of the brothers that are actually in that think tank are here: Man of Tomorrow, Ghana Dan, and Tony Maceo is one of the guys. And so these are going to be the kind of guys that will in the LAR movement. So they're going to be like a group of guys who will try to like solve these kind of problems for us as black men. I'm not leading this think tank at all. It's just that these are guys that have a little bit more life experience than I do, and maybe can ask some more critical questions. So MOT, and I believe I called you too about this, right, man? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I've told Ghana Dan, I've told Tony Maceo. So guys, be looking forward to that. I think what JL Edwards is talking about as far as economic solutions podcast, that's something I think the think tank could handle. So we can do that. Let me go to Man of Tomorrow real quick. MOT, what's your response, or what do you want to win based off you've heard what Edward had to say, you heard what Ghana had to say. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, I just missed the last end of that. But what I think is what we're trying to do here isn't really that hard. Like when I went in the military in '96, I went and watched the Bosnia situation unfold as a 17-year-old. And those people went from nothing to where they are now. Those people went in with nothing. Those people didn't have any skills. They didn't even speak the local language. But the military went in and helped those people not only do that, but build something great, and they're living there fantastically. What we can do here is pretty much simpler. Like what I've been doing without being on YouTube is trying to look into creating a 50-state strategy of local, municipal, county, state, and federal contracts. I have been studying that process very heavily
Mhm.
because if you are a minority and are minority certified through the federal government, you automatically get those contracts. So when you get those contracts, you can pay people extremely well to do very menial labor in all 50 states. Because if you're looking at states like Rhode Island or Delaware or North and South Dakota that have to give those contracts to minority owned businesses, when they have 0.001% black people within those states, if you apply for them, you're going to get them. So what I'm trying to do right now, which is why I haven't been on in such a long time, is figuring out the best way to get the information and kind of channel it out to the LAR movements, to the missile researchers, to the Ron Wills, Al Roger Curry, whatever states that they're in. Not that their name's going to be on it, so that way their name can be on it, but they can be set up in the system to where they can hire actual people to be able to do this stuff for them, even though it's in their name. Like me, I'm a veteran and I'm black. I'm already on board with getting most of the stuff that I want. But once I go over a certain net net worth level, I can't do this anymore. And
Mhm.
I don't have that type of network to be able to, all right, I'm here. Who can I hand this off to in Texas? Who can I hand this off to in New Mexico? Who can I hand this off to in Utah? I don't have that. And all these times that I've been successful, like I've always been outnumbered every time I've been successful. The only reason why I got it is because I'm black and I'm a male and I'm a dude and I don't have a record and all this other stuff that works in my favor. But we can find people in the community who already have that at 18, 19. Because once we get the contract, it's nothing but a staffing issue at that point, right? Like we don't need any of that stuff. Like when you look at the local 11 or the 313 that you see from like the unions, what they do is they have black people go in and get the contract from the federal government. They sell the contract to the union, and then the union staffs the contract. This person walks away with 2 or 3 million, while the union walks away with 300 or 400 million dollars in actual money that they hire people for to do jobs with. What we need to do is have our own infrastructure where we have this in house for us as black dudes because they're going to give it to us on a federal level. Because one, it haven't been done before on a 50-state strategy. Two, what black person you know in Utah who's getting these type of contracts, or who's in South Dakota or any other place where black people are not liable to be in order to get these contracts? And we're talking about these are federal, what I'm talking about, but they drop down to state, local, and everywhere else. So that's what I've been researching while, just sitting back chilling. I'm like, man, dude, there's a lot of money on the table that we're not even tapping into.
Yes.
It's too much money on the
Yeah.
table. And what they do is they get people, they pay them 30 or $40,000 a year because I've been involved with that process, especially overseas. And these people are living somewhere nice where this dude has hundreds of thousands of dollars of contracts in his name because he's black. And
Mhm.
he just get 30 or $40,000 a year, and he's so-called quote unquote good. While nobody gets hired from the community that he can actually control and hire. I mean, these are the things that we have not been able to find out or even discuss on a major level because of the so-called people, and I'm a liberal, you know that,
Mhm.
because of the so-called people who represents us on the national stage that I don't like and that you don't like either for the same reasons. You know, and it's just that these people could have quite easily, through the black church, have set this all up right after the civil rights movement. But they decided not to because dysfunction is a way easier market to conquer than actually teaching people shit and actually teaching people how to run shit.
Man, you dropped some really serious game. And guys, be welcome, looking out for this think tank operation. And Ghana Danny's like, when you gonna kick this off? God, you've been adamant about it. But so guys, that's gonna be happening with the Tony Maceo, LAR, Ghana Dan, and Ghana Dan, Man Tomorrow. I sent out four invites right now. Those are the four. So we'll be looking for these brothers to answer some of these questions. So, but let's kind of go to Edward, and let me shout out to Nick Taylor. Duke, if we could only teach people that the concept of income and money knows no race, they'd be one step of the game. Yeah, ahead of the game. That's absolutely true. Thank you so much, brother Nick Taylor. We got to do a show together. So, YouTuber, man, subscribe to my man Nick Taylor. I met him through my brother. Damn, why did I forget? Truth Teller 410. Y'all know Truth Teller 410 is Mr. Patreon, because every time he gets on the episode, it goes to Patreon. So let's go with Edward Anderson. Edward, did you have anything that you wanted to comment
on? Just to add on what Man of Tomorrow was saying, I met a black man, a brother, an older gentleman, and he got out of military, and he's very good at getting government contracts for logistical purposes. And it was interesting because when he wanted to start, it was like a 40-mile ride. So we had a really good conversation, and talking about networks, when he wanted to start this thing, when he was like leaving the military and stuff like that, he went to other black people that he knew had the money that to help him, and he didn't really need them, but he went to black men first. And black men, because a lot of it's because they were scared, because how our attitude towards business and stuff is as a culture. Okay. Unfortunately, they didn't help him, and then he had to go to like 3 white dudes as a partner. Now he still runs it because they were just investors, but he said it. He said, man, most of the people that he brings in, like I think 10 million, like I think like $10 million in revenue, and he ain't got none but white people that work around him, because they were the initial people that got in. And that's another thing too. We got to learn how, when dudes come to us, we got to learn to disseminate between people that know what they're talking about, people that don't. Because as I say that, appreciate it, O'Shea. My dude Ulysses is coming on, okay, and he'll tell you about his stuff. And he has that same issue where a lot of times brothers don't want to be ready, but at the same time, when you try to work with who's ready, which is not always black, then brothers want to come at you talking about, oh, you ain't really real. And we need a situation where we can disseminate people, kind of like what Man of Tomorrow is saying, because he's saying, look, I have an opportunity available for you, but you gonna have to get on code. And when I say get on code, that's whatever we define that to be, because that doesn't have to be based on liberalism or conservatism. That can be based on getting power, because it's beyond that binary bullshit. That's the problem. Too many black people, because white folks don't do that. Look, let's be clear here. There's more wealth in the liberal Congress than there is in the conservative Congress. So white folks, Michael Bloomberg, he switched from being Republican to Democrat. And by the way, Donald Trump has never been officially a Democrat, but Donald Trump has not always been a Republican either. Right. So these white guys don't allow those, like when they have a full contact sport in politics, they understand that we're going to be the ones that divide the pie. We'll choose who it is amongst white people is going to divide the pie, but we're going to be the ones that divide the pie. But outside of that, they know how to take their ball and go home, versus black men, because we don't have those outlets other than sports and other things to vent our masculinity. What we end up doing is we end up cannibalizing each other. So we end up fighting over women, fighting over shit that, quite frankly, at the end of the day, does not matter. And we don't ever put ourselves in position to be a competitive force, because there's so many other forces that are invested in black men not doing well. Even our own women are invested in us not doing well, because if black men get on code, black women won't be able to get away with a lot of stuff. if black men get on code with how we spend our money, white men wouldn't really be the ones that's got to worry about that. But Asians, Hispanics, people that are initially around us that make a lot of money off black people wouldn't be able to make that money that easily because we own the shit around us. And that's money that they get in their pockets that they use to take their kids to school that they won't use. And that's a lot of money that would be taken away from them. So people are invested in telling us things like racism doesn't exist, like we're full of crap and all of that. And they're invested in putting those myths around us and making us afraid to actually try to get in business. Because once we realize it's not that many issues in front of us, then you know how black people are. We take over shit. You put us in, they won't let us do hockey because we don't want to do the code. Otherwise, we take that shit over too. Anyway.
Okay, let me no, thanks for we have the brother Ulysses wanted to welcome him to the podcast. Let me see this. There's a dude in here, I don't know your name, bro. Come on, let me get on the conversation. Why do you niggas do that? Let me stop the show. These dudes who are here on the show, I know them. Okay, you don't come onto my show if I don't know you for the most part, unless somebody else that I know knows you. This nigga's in the chat right now talking about, let me get in the conversation. Who are you? It's a good chance to know me. It's a good chance to know this super chat, nigga. I don't know you. Okay, nigga, who are you? This is what I'm talking about, niggas. I'm gonna drop some knowledge. You better drop some money in this super chat, nigga. That's how you can start. You bold as a motherfucker, nigga. You ain't gonna walk up in the white man chat room talking about, let me get on the show, nigga. Please. You better, okay, nigga. That's niggas like this. Y'all need help, nigga. Y'all need Jesus. You ain't gonna come up at my shit demanding to get on my shit and you ain't supporting the stream, nigga. Please, there's other brothers in here that drop money ain't asked to get on the show. You bring your $5 ass in here talking about, can I get on them and drop some knowledge? You better shut your motherfucking ass up, nigga. But I give you some point. You bold as fuck because I had to stop the show on your motherfucking ass. Nigga, I'm trying to be cool and talk this business shit with these smart black men, but don't make me get this nigga juice. I'm not a Negro that goes to you. I don't give a fuck what you do, bitch. See, he got me cussing his ass out. Okay, let me get back to the bits. I'm sorry, y'all. These niggas, they bring the nigga out of me, man. I try to be cool, but these niggas, you can't work with them sometimes. Ulysses, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. Hello?
He said he might be a few minutes. I don't know if he was just getting open. I assumed he was ready, but he'll be back.
Okay. Wait. Oh, wait. I'm here. Sorry about that, guys. I was actually muted.
You gotta be late like every other black man.
No, I wasn't late. I was just muted.
Okay. What's up, man? Ulysses, man. I heard some good things about you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, man. I really, I had quite an interesting conversation with Edward earlier today. Because Edward and I talk business. And so that's actually, it's funny, man, that I'm actually on your stream now because it all kind of came about of a conversation with Edward today. So shout outs to him as well for kind of linking this. And I think the topic is actually apropos because it's directly related to the conversation I had with Edward earlier. So, if we're talking about, what our role is, I mean, I'll just tell you from, my own personal position, my own experience. I see taking responsibility for the community, and I'm throwing all these things in air quotes, right? Because these are very vague terms, and these can mean any number of things, right? Mentoring a child could be, actually setting up businesses in a community, right? And then child walks by and is curious about that business that's there, and next thing you know, you're giving this child a job, or you're putting them up on what the processes are and maybe in the back in the manufacturing area or something like that. You're giving knowledge that way. I mean, it could be done through business. It could be done through direct mentoring. It could be done through coaching. It could be done through a number of things. So I think part of the problem with the conversation is that it's sort of like a one size or a one catch-all kind of thing, right? Take responsibility for the community or helping the community or what have you. Now, if you were to ask me my personal opinion, I'm going to give you business solutions. I'm going to talk about infrastructure. I'm going to talk about markets. I'm going to talk about getting involved. You can have a community that actually transacts globally, right? This is all. I mean, if you want to talk about taking responsibility for the community, then what you have to do is you have to let that conversation be had with the individuals who have the foresight and the vision to see where you can take a community where it stands right now and says, okay, 50 years, where do we see this, right? And then actually lay out a 50-year plan. And then you have a 1-year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year goal, 20-year goal, right? These are going to be objectives that you're going to meet. Okay, this is how you actually are going to go about that. However, I don't think the conversation can actually be dictated by those who can't even basically just explain what I just did. If that's not the approach that you're taking to it, then you have to let the conversation be amongst those who can have that conversation and who are going to have the foresight, the vision, and who are actually going to do the work to do it.
I definitely agree with that. And I think that's why this is like Man of Tomorrow was saying, the Navy isn't for everybody. And look who we got here. And thank you for brother Ulysses. We got the supermodel Paulina. Okay, so I wanted to get her take as an African American woman on this. So Paulina, it took you about 32 hours to come to the stream. No, but take yourself off mute, Paulina. You on mute, but you on mute. Unmute yourself.
She's muted also. Same thing.
She's too busy trying to look cute. Okay. Hit the mute button. She just doing the
unmute.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
There you go.
There you go. I'm trying to adjust my volume. Give me
okay. You want me to go to somebody else real quick?
Please.
Okay. Let's go to Ghana Dan. Ghana Dan, anything that you want to weigh on? Because I think the brother makes some straight points, especially with to this point. I think what Ulysses is saying overall is let the smart people or the most intelligent people handle what needs to handle in our communities, and we understand, and especially in our communities, it's quite the reverse. What did you want to say? And just anything that he said, or regardless, but I would like you to just certain points that he made about the smarter people kind of leading the charge here also.
Absolutely. We definitely need to change the narrative. We got the idiots running the community. It goes back to what Man of Tomorrow said. When you have men like that who've taken the charge and setting up a 50 state program, he needs to be surrounded with the most brilliant and most willing black men who stay on code, whatever it is, and help him create a completely win-win scenario where everybody eats good. And so, because you can't build infrastructure off of one person. It's a conglomerate. It's many layers from top to top down, and everybody has to be accountable from the bottom up. And so, there's going to have to be a vetting process, of course. You just can't willy-nilly like this fool that just try to jump in on the chat or, want to drop some knowledge or whatever he said. He has to go through the process to be vetted, to be recommended,
right,
to be seen worthy to be in the company of a Man of Tomorrow, the Edward, or the Ulysses. Because our time is valuable. We don't have time to be, dealing with somebody's inadequate mindset with their issues and their demons. We need people who pretty much who've been looking for opportunities and looking for men who already have their shit together. And then they are silent until whatever they're strong in, then that's when they are deferred to and that's when they speak. But black men, we like to speak, we like to talk too much, especially about things that are out of our realm of influence. So everything has to go back to code, helping those who are in the front, like the Man of Tomorrow, like Ulysses just alluded to. It has to be a highly organized infrastructure, starting in healthy relationships, then everything else will naturally manifest because the money will come.
Can I Can I make a suggestion with
Yeah,
regards
hold
to
on, but let me get
Oh,
1 second. Listen, yeah, let's let some other. I'll get to you here real
oh,
quick.
absolutely.
Let me just say this, guys. Before we get to Paulina, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay,
Whenever
before
you're
we get to
ready.
Paulina, let me just say this. In
Look, I got my
Josiah, he
notes.
says,
I
"I
got my notes.
got your notes. Oh shit, I've gone to schools and even homes, and black BMT. If you know, I've gone to schools and even homes to counsel young men as well. Let's take them on places to expose them to things or structure to the proper mindset. We have to work with home first. BMT, man, you got to start coming on more. I'll send you a link to if you want to get on. But let me just say this: like with me in realms that I know stuff about, I stick to it. What I don't know, I get everybody else. Like a lot of brothers got to learn how to be brokers. Okay.
Mhm.
And that is the people like Mana Tomorrows, people like Ghana Dance, and people like Paulina, NBA. Hey, listen, these people have experiences that I don't have. So I work with those people and let them come onto the platform and expose what they have. So a lot of brothers need to understand like that's my strongest gift is maybe not knowing all the information, but knowing other people who do. Let's go ahead. Let's address these notes, Paulina.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. This was fantastic. I was actually working on a project. I got a big event this week. So, for the Black NBA in Detroit. So, I was really trying to finish some stuff. I had conference calls all night. But, anyhow, okay. So, I took notes. The first thing I wanted to bring up is I think some of the gentlemen in the beginning were talking about men being a reflection of their environment. The reason why I feel like it's critical for Black men to mentor Black boys is there is a lot of Black boys who have not seen, right, successful Black men. Their definition of a man that is successful is based off of what they can physically see with their eyes. You can have women that's mentoring, encouraging, really trying to inspire the young men, but unless they see a man, it doesn't feel tangible to them. So to me, I feel like that's why it's very critical. Black men who are, I want to say, living in a peaceful environment, and I'm just going to something very basic. There are a lot of Black boys that grow up in environments that are not peaceful, right? It's not peaceful. They don't understand it, right? Because it's drama. Anybody who knows my story knew both of my parents, addiction to crack, mother dealing with mental illness, schizophrenia. I've been on my own since I was like 13 years old, really 13 to 16 years old. But if you don't have that environment that offers you peace, your dysfunctional mindset comes, well, this may look dysfunctional, this may feel dysfunctional, but it's not as bad as that, right? So, a lot of Black men don't understand that there are Black boys who really have had a very hard childhood. And I'm talking about a childhood that really resonates from birth to age 8. You don't understand. Some kids have went through hell 3 times over by the time that they're 8 years old. Like, okay, so that's one thing. Um, a lot of Black men, my experience, me being primarily in corporate America, working in a predominantly white environment, older white men, you know, um, if I see a Black man in my industry, it's like I'm so excited for him, right? I'm like, hey, I can be at an industry event. I'm just so happy to see him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes they don't want to be attached to what, as people say, the culture, right? So they feel like in order for them to get ahead, they can't be affiliated with, their hood, where they've come from, or you have some who've never seen that. They grew up pretty privileged, so they don't identify with that. They don't identify with the youth and the need to mentor. Okay, so they are focused more on achieving success for the individual. And even though these men may be married and have children, they are not necessarily focused on their family. That's another thing too, because we talk about this whole two-parent household. I've seen a lot of Black men who grew up in two-parent households, and they have a very dysfunctional mindset because their household was very dysfunctional. Um, Hold on a second. Oh God. Okay, Edward was talking about a lot of older men talk from a place of judgment. Basically, when they're talking to the youth, it's like they're so dismissive. They're very, like, that's so ignorant. Why would you do that? And you don't understand that a lot of youth don't have, again, they don't have a living example. Everything is a myth. Everything is, you know, I heard this story one day. It's not necessarily they know someone who has went through their life, had their life experience, and actually have overcome. Some people get too focused on education and not focusing on really the trade, the skill set of an individual, right? So basically they're trying to mentor, or they're trying to judge a younger black male based off of, you should be doing this, education is the way, go to college, do this, and where their thing is, man, I don't know how to, I don't know how to, I don't like reading, I don't like doing these things, I'm barely having difficulty comprehending, but I'm a hard worker, right? I may be a production guy. I may be, cutting grass all day. And again, from my experience, I see people that they are just so judgmental. Um, oh, this is a good topic, because I was like, oh goodness. Yes, a lot of men, I'm sorry, in this day and age, they do a lot of talking. I mean, they talk about their previous success. They talk about, their previous failures. They talk about what they would do if they had the opportunity. And unfortunately, I'm divorced, as a single mom, you know, it's not taboo in society. Let me just say this. A man can marry a woman, okay, because I'm going to transition to this a little bit. A man can marry a woman, and he can literally come home one day and say, I can't handle this. This is too much responsibility. Hey, you have at it. I'm going to leave you with these kids. I'm going through a midlife crisis. And it's almost like he can go on about his life, start another family with someone else, and leave that woman to pick up all the pieces, right? But if a woman was to come into the house and say, you know what, hey, this is too much responsibility, you know, I can't do this. I'm leaving these kids. It's almost like she's horrible. She's neglectful. And people don't understand what that psyche develops in a woman who has encountered that. Um, I think it was basically, I forgot who brought this up, but anyway, choosing the right man. There are a lot of talented Mr. Ripleys in this world. You don't understand. A lot of men will go through great lengths to pursue a woman. You going off his actions, you going off of, his words, and you're like, man, he is really putting forth the effort. I mean, he gonna go to the pastor, he gonna, denounce his family, he gonna go through all these great lengths, right? To be with you. And a woman who wants to believe in a man, because there are a lot of great black women out here who believe the best of a black man, but they also get manipulated, because it's like, wait a minute, I just want you to be who you said you were. I'm not, it's, why are you holding me to the standard? And it's like, well, I'm holding you to the standard that you have set in my life. This is who you said you were. And so a lot of times there are, scenarios. Yes, there's a whole sect of women that's just out there plotting and scheming, just like there's a whole sect of men plotting and scheming as well. But for the most part, I'm just saying from my experience that I have seen, a lot of times the woman is extremely manipulative. She's duping the man. The man is very manipulative. He's duping the woman. And so then they decide to develop a family. They do it the right way, as you can say, getting married, all these different things. And then one person just, loses they grounding, and they have no problem leaving all that responsibility on that spouse that they have abandoned, and go on about their life, partying or whatever, and start the whole cycle over. So I think that's a major part that needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of that starts with the childhood. If you don't get to the young men if they don't see a man that's resilient, if they don't see a man that's going through life, if they don't see a man that's honestly communicating the struggles of life, whether it be self-esteem, whether it be, education, or whether it be identity crisis, if they don't communicate that truth to the young men, as they start going through those challenges, I'm telling you, they feel like they're the anomaly. They look at other people and they say, well, I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with the basics. I don't have my identity, and so I just, okay. And
So
Madam tomorrow, you're right about the abject dysfunction. You can mentor a person, you can encourage, inspire, and do all those things for the young boys, But if they going right back into that household, it really is you defeating the purpose. You really have to get the buy-in from the parent. And like you said, it's really not necessarily, I'm paraphrasing, giving them a handout. It's more of a hand up. You know, I always talk from the experience of my childhood, and that, yeah, I grew up in a very violent family. I grew up, all we knew was gang banging, drug dealing, all types of things. And my mother had the sense to say, you know what, I'm going to move you guys out of the environment. Her moving us out of the environment got us a chance to see something new. It exposed us to something different. So before, when she was talking, now we're like, man, we can see this. This is different.
Okay.
So because we had that mentorship outside of our present circumstances, whether she put us in different environments, whether we were around different people, different, you know, teachers and mentors who took a liking to me, I would have not understood that. You know, there are a lot of boys out here, they are just crying for some type of mentorship. And I'm telling you, if we don't do it, we will continue the cycle that we have now, which is a lot of broken men who still, you know, in their late 40s and 50s. You know, I'm only 40 and I see it every day, but they have no clue. And I think I just want the guys to talk about that a little bit, about the perils. If you say, you know what, this youth generation is a lost cause. What happens if we don't get to them now? If they don't see a man get to them now?
Okay, let me do this. So shout out to Paulina. She was initially supposed to come on. We're gonna do some more stuff with her. She's a moderator here. I think there's some points that she brings to the conversation that
the female perspective.
And you know, every now and then I'll have a female on the on the show. So today we have this. You know, I'm very open to different guests, stuff like that. So anybody want to take a crack at anything that she said?
Everybody.
No, I mean I could.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So to kind of correlate what I was speaking earlier to what she was just sort of talking about in terms of like mentorship. Now, one of the things that I do is I run a part of a trade group with a couple other brothers that we founded. And one of the industries that we're involved in is the hemp and cannabis businesses. And so on the hemp side of things, we've set up basically a manufacturing and basically a manufacturing distributor and wholesale business. And we basically opened up lines of businesses to anyone who was interested. So I've had a couple of young cats who would listen in on our business hangouts, and where we basically every Sunday we talk about the cannabis industry, hemp, cryptocurrencies. We talk about all that stuff, right? How it all correlates and relates to global markets and everything. And so, look, they reached out to us, and we basically helped them bootstrap their businesses. You know, and and that was just something where it was like, okay, look, we put it out there. We said, well, look, anyone who's looking to get involved in this, because we view it as something similar to a natural resource, and we're looking at it from an industrial standpoint, and we're saying, well, look, and it's largely going to be an industry that's going to be run by millennials anyway. So largely the call out that we're putting out from a business standpoint is largely to the millennial set, the younger generations who are going to grow up, and they're going to come up with all these different uses for industrial hemp. They're going to come up with all these different types of, I don't know, filaments for 3D printing machines and what have you. Now, this is the mechanism to get involved in that, and I welcome them. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that, sorry, I live on a main street, bro. I'm in SoCal. You're from NorCal. You know how it is down here.
It's not as loud.
Are you in the inside of a truck, nigga? Like, what is going on?
No, I'm not. I'm the main street is right outside my window.
God damn! I was like, what the fuck is all this noise?
My bad. Let me move over a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, dog. Go ahead.
Yeah,
does anybody else hear this shit?
Yeah, let me move away from the window a little
Don't
bit.
worry, it's usually me.
Yeah, I'm gonna move away from my desk
Pet boys getting this. Yeah, I want to get my brakes
I
fixed.
don't know.
Hold on one second.
I
I
don't
want
know.
to hang out. I want to hang out. And another point I
know.
want to make. No, go ahead, brother. Don't discuss me. Go ahead, man.
But to kind of speak to that though, I mean, mentorship, right, can come in all different facets, right? And so the fact of the matter is, and this is kind of like a point you hear stressed. I'm trying to be a little more nuanced with it, right? Maybe kind of give you a different take on it. But this is a point that you hear stressed on channels like O'Shea's, and you hear other brothers come on when they kind of express their frustrations, right? When they say, okay, well, look, I don't think you guys really fully recognize the scope of what it is we actually do and what we're capable of, right? So it sort of minimizes the effect of what it is we're actually able to do when working together. So, you know, when you kind of have that viewpoint, right? Like when you say, again, like when you call your intelligentsia lame, look, that's like, you got to understand, like, there's no other culture on the planet that calls their intelligentsia that, right? Their intelligentsia is largely responsible for their standing, globally speaking. Okay, like we're like sometimes like our mindsets are completely like 180 degree from what it actually should be, and that's sort of like the frustrations that you hear. Now, for me, I don't really pay it no mind. I mean, I could give you my take on, you know, as far as how I feel about women, but that's a whole nother thing. But I'm largely about the business. I'm largely about action. So that's the only thing I'm gonna focus on. Like you know, women could think what they want to think. I'm gonna do as I do, and that's largely the message that I'm trying to espouse to young brothers out here. And I try to be an example of that. Again, you know, you see it largely reflected in some of the hangouts that I participate in, or the ones that I host myself personally, and then in the business opportunities that I try to, you know, that I try to like offer up to anybody who wants to, you know, do business on a commercial scale.
Okay.
But
good point.
Bring up a good point, Ulysses, real quick, in that O'Shea, in that you know, a lot with our community is, and this is why, you know, I completed my MBA, you know, 16 years ago. But a lot of an issue in our community is we are not really groomed in how to create economic viability. Mm-hmm. We are really groomed to work for people. We are really groomed to, you know, look for someone to help us out. You know, I'm big on mentorship. I'm truly, truly big in mentorship. And that's why I do things with my own nonprofit and also other nonprofits, in that we're not told the truth. In different cultures, their children are taken to work with them. They are exposed to the family business, the family industry, whatever it is. For us, a lot of times we are first generation, you know, trying to thrive versus surviving. So we really aren't equipping, or let me say this, we don't know how to equip our children because we're still learning. So a lot of our community, and that's really big of you, are really giving them that economic learning experience, and that we don't have that in surplus within our community. We don't.
I did want to get in.
Okay, go ahead.
Get in.
Like, all right, I'm trying to say this, and because I definitely respect everybody on the panel. Here's the thing. Ultimately, what it comes down to, and I'm just going to say it the way it needs to be said, there is no community on the planet that is successful that does not believe that you get more out of men than you do women. If all things being equal, if you invest in your men at the macro level, because everything that we're really talking about when we talk about helping people and stuff like that, it's obvious that everybody who's on the panel does it where they can individually, probably more than the average, right? What we're really talking about, I think what we get a lot of confusion is, how do you scale it up? And the reality of the situation is, we have to have this understanding that, quite frankly, most of our women don't believe that, you know, you get more out of the men than you do the women when it comes to economic and building power, wealth, and influence. You just do. As extraordinary as our women are, and I've seen some extraordinary women. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm the best cheerleader for black women that are on black men's team, but they're extraordinary. But they're not gonna compete with white men. they're not going to be able to compete with Asian men because that's an organized offense. Because quite frankly, you're not just competing with those men, you're competing with those women that reinforce those men. You know, like, you know, when you compete against an Asian man, even an Asian man is not educated, because all Chinese are not educated. When you go in the typical Chinese restaurant that black people support, those are not quote unquote educated Chinese folks. Like, they're educated, like you know, you getting people from Beijing that's in the best universities and stuff. But what do? You got the women doing the register, you got the women running it, and you got you know, and they may be running the register with some cooks in the back, and they got their kids right there. They do their part. And what we have this thing where our women don't understand that. If they ever understand that, they don't understand it until they get to that promised land. It's called corporate America. And our women have much easier time getting a job in corporate America than men. But then our women start to run into that feminism is kind of BS crap, where they start to see non-black women are able to do better than them, even though they outperform those non-black women. Right. And then that's when you start to hear a lot of complaints with black women, because then black women will figure this out. Well, this happens because at the end of the day, as good as I am, this is not my yard. This is a white man's yard. So then that's when we start to look after the fact as far as where are the brothers building businesses. And here's where the trick goes on, because I know, you know, it's a lot of people on here, so I want to give them time. The trap is like a time loop where it's this intergenerational conversation where it's like, where are the black male builders at? But black male builders are not born, they are made. And what we have is this conversation about how to fix black men that come from a manufacturing system is defective, when every other group knows that you have to make it right the first time. But then we have people that are not. This is where Man of Tomorrow was excellent. Well, we got people that at the end of the day, when they come down to it, they are not willing to sacrifice the flow of resources that come to them. This is why black men don't mean to be like anti-black female, but things like Black Girls Rock gets on our damn nerves. Things like me seeing in the newspaper, black women are the foundation of the Democratic Party. All these things that say, as a black man, I don't matter. But at the same time, you got women that got degrees, they got PhDs, they got triple, quadruple PhDs saying black men need to step up. And to be honest with you, a lot of black men are like, all the resources that gonna come through the black community come through your hands, even at the lower levels when you have kids. So we're like, why don't you build it? If you were so awesome, why don't you build it? Yeah, so we can. But see how many honest, and that's why I you know, I do respect you saying that. How many sisters do you know, especially at the level of success that you have, will honestly admit that? Even amongst the women,
I would say 70% will admit it. But will they act on it? Is interesting. Because you bring up a really phenomenal point. I was talking to one of my Caucasian, I'm on a board with another woman, and she was saying that she was looking for a job, right? She interviewed for the job and she said, man, this was a great job. But instead of me taking it, I told my husband, he wasn't even looking for a job. I recommended my husband for the job. And I said, wow. I said, what made you recommend him for the job? She said, because I listened to what they said. And I said, my husband can really excel in this company. Like, I can see him being a VP one day. And that just floored me, because I know myself that I've known black women to be like, you know what? That was my opportunity. I'm going to make it go. When they were supposed to pass that on to a man, because honestly, it is a man's game. And I agree with you. I think when people start getting exposed and they really understand the farce of the system, they realize it's a setup.
And I want to make this one quick last point. Okay. You do realize, I mean, I'm a younger dude. Look, I'm 31. But you do realize that's what happened. That's what them liberal white women did, right? Them liberal white women convinced our women to come to that. Because let's be honest, and I'm talking about white women in particular. White women know that they benefit from this system. You can call it white supremacy. You can call it white privilege. You can call it whatever. Without white men there, that does not exist. They know it. That's why as much as Donald Trump talked this shit, you still had 20-25% of white women go that way. because they understood that to a certain extent. So even over another white woman. So here's the thing: when those laws were being passed, white, because you hear white women do it today. When white women will talk about Islam and they'll talk about Muslims and look at those women that's forced to wear those burqas and all of that, they do that because they know eventually people gonna ask, well, you benefit from this system, so you ain't got shit to really talk about. What do you, so they co-opt black women or other women's causes in order to give them credibility, and they say, hey, we're on the same team, right, and then they get our women to believe that under the gates of being woman first, kind of like how divorce attorneys get in the ear of a lot of women and say, well, even though the woman may not want to tear that man apart, because that divorce attorney is trying to extract as much money from that estate as possible, they'll put little things in the woman's ear saying you can do this or do that and do that to get more money. People don't know that about divorce game. But anyway, my point is, this is why I always make this statement. Nobody has taken more from the black woman than the white woman, because that's how white women ended up being classified as minorities. And that's how white women ended up taking the resources that went to black men. And by black men having those jobs, black women would have benefited. They would have eventually got their job too, but those resources will always go back to black women too, because black men we marry black women at 86%. Our problem is we don't get married like that anymore. And so 86% we marry black women. So black women benefit. See, this is the biggest difference, and then I'm done. When you elevate black men, black women are gonna elevate. I don't see that when you elevate black women. You don't see black women coming back. Fuck black men. You don't see them even helping their own sons.
That's true.
That's true.
BGS Igmore said this. He said, you got a lot of educated women. You got a lot of women with degrees that can't even teach their own sons how to read. But they want to talk about how smart they are. And that's the problem. And at the end of the day, no matter what anybody says, if we're going to get to the critical mass that we need to get to really make the community pop, that's going to require black men and black women working like a yin and a yang. I love using the term yin and a yang to talk to black women because they take up equal amount of space, but depending on where the it's up or down, one of them is wider in one way and wider on at the bottom, because we all have our roles.
Okay, let me do this, guys, real quick, because it's 6 a.m. here. So let me just do this. I'm gonna let Ganadan and I'm gonna let Ganadan and MOT and let finish their thoughts on this, because I'm still suffering from this jet lag. I was in Brazil and I'm still trying to recover from that. I got class in like a few hours. So let's let Ganadan weigh in on it, and let's let MOT, and I'll let everybody say their last things. I'm gonna go ahead and end the podcast. Go ahead, Ganadan.
The sister related to, she said 70% of the women will admit to that. Is that what she said?
Admit it. I don't know if they will act on it. Yes.
Yeah. Action is everything.
Everything.
So it's imperative that right now we just got to start with the bare minimum. Try to influence where you at. If you can take one young son, we can't save everybody. Some of these situations are 3-4 generations of poverty and toxic environments. So we have to shift this culture. And one thing I found is through good business practices, through allowing those who have earned a right to speak, they speak, they create programs and systems, everybody get on code, and then we expand from there. Man of tomorrow, got to get back to what he said. There are billions of dollars within the federal government that is set aside for African Americans. Last year, my brother, my family, we have a janitorial business the last 35 years. Longer than that now, I look back. And we got our first government contract. And it was a rigorous process because white men will marry black women
just
to get the federal contracts.
Damn.
And so they would these people came and went through it was almost like an IRS audit of what they did to my brother's business to make sure that he was a legitimate African American owned business. So not only we have to be in code, we have to be on our paperwork. So, but our biggest resistance came from Black women when it came to finally getting approved after all the inspection. Black women sat on the paperwork for 3 weeks. We calling and calling, trying to figure out what's up with the paperwork, because we just needed that last step of approval. So, when it comes to setting up infrastructure, it has to be highly organized, and it's imperative that those who have championed, who've taken the whippings, who have the experience, they need to speak. Everybody need to follow. Then we expand from there. We do what we can to make black business, having black integrity, having principles cool again, where being
Right.
educated isn't lame, where being about your business isn't lame. So but our problem is going to take several generations to fix. But right now,
Mm.
I mean, I can champion what Big Brother Man of Tomorrow's on in addition to what the brother said about the cannabis. Those are two industries we can jump in right now and make an immediate impact. And then maybe the next 25 years, when those crop of young men are in their 40s, they can probably expand to 2 or 3 young men that they mentor and help up. And so thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay, shout out. The thing about the grants. Wow, white men marrying black women get those grants. That's important. Let's let Man of Tomorrow says last night. I give everybody one last kind of like 1 minute, whatever you want to say, and then we'll go ahead and end it. Man of Tomorrow, go ahead.
Yeah, we just have to re-terraform where we're at. We don't need to go to another planet to try to reseed ourselves within the soil that we're already at. We're, I mean, I heard a lot of stuff here, but these problems are not hard. I've seen people when I was in Bosnia. I've seen those people go from nothing to thriving, and they have way worse problems that we think that we have in our community. Like, I mean, these people used to go out and do far worse stuff than what we do within our so-called community today, and they still rose up out of it because the woman was in the house and they refused in large numbers to take that easy deal that was given to them by the UN. They had an easy deal they could take, but they refused. And it became part of their culture that they refused that easy thing to go out and do XYZ. It's just that we also have a very kind of overpopulation kind of thing that's happening in the communities as well. How people create and put kids on the planet is not from expanding a personal franchise based on your accomplishment. It's based on expanding a franchise based on mostly the female's overall survival and just her survival, not really the kid's survival. Once they become 18, they become no longer useful to them. So those are things that we have to kind of work on, and we need to say, forget the culture that they assigned us, forget the culture that these people make money off of. We just have to build our own culture outside of that. I
Yes.
mean, I have people come up to me and be like, "Have you heard what Kanye West is?" I'm like, "Who the fuck is Kanye West?" I know who he is, but I just wanted to see what the look on their face would be. They're like, "Well, you didn't hear what he said." I'm like, "I have no idea who that dude is." Like, why the fuck do you assign that to me? Like, and the look on their face is like, "Oh my god, you're so." I'm like, "No," I'm like, "Dude, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Who
Why
is
would you even
Jesus?
assign that to me?" Like, I don't go around assigning cultures to other people, and it just kind of made them think that that dude don't represent me. Like, people used to come up to me 20 years ago. "Oh man, do you hear what Al Sharpton say?" I'm like, "Who the fuck is Al Sharpton?" They look at me like, "Any of y'all spokesperson?" I'm like, "Who the fuck? No, he don't speak for me, and he probably don't speak for you either." I mean, it's just that most people who you run into, they have no idea other than what they see on TV. So if we could just build a counterculture versus the bullshit that's out there, we can get a lot ahead a lot faster because the Japanese, the Asians, they had the same problems we had. The only problem that they didn't have is they didn't have 75 to 150% more people within an environment that they could really handle within an environment. We don't have any controls on that. Like most kids are born out of the survival of the mother, not the survival of the kid or even the father who is created from, right? So, and these are the things that I've seen in war-torn countries. I've been to Pakistan. I've been to Malaysia. I've been to all these places. And what problems you think you have here are the same exact problems or far worse. But the problem is that we're in the richest country to where we can say tomorrow, like you see all these dumbass challenges you see on Facebook. Why don't we have a "we're not gonna have any more kids until we're 30 years old" or "we have our shit together" challenge? Yeah, why don't we fucking do that? You know what I'm saying? No, it's not quick. No, I'm not liberal at all, but I represent that because I can get the most money out of it temporarily.
Okay.
Man.
That's pretty good. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and end this, man. Let's let Ulysses. We'll start that way. Go that way. So let's let Ulysses, Paulina, MOT. Last words. Ulysses, anything you want to say to close us out, bro?
Yeah, sure thing. I'll say, I'll say this. I think individualism as well as collective thought go hand in hand, right? You can only be responsible for your own actions, right? And then there's the effect that your actions have on the greater good. So I think it's pivotal to actually think in terms of individualism. I think that what you should do is actually cultivate what your talents are and then bring that out and have that be what is going to be like the positive impact that you're going to have, that you're going to put forward. Another thing that I'll espouse also is, as far as men, black men, if anyone wants to take a word away from anything that I've said tonight, look, as far as black men are concerned, like your focal point is the globe, right? Your focal point is the globe. Your focal point aren't women. Your focal point is the globe. Women are just like a component. They come along with what it is that you do to be expansive. Okay, this is how you change the community. This is called culture change right here. It's to think differently than what you're thinking about currently. So I'm going to push that narrative. I'm one who's going to look at what's taking place on the globe right now. So if you're following the cryptocurrency markets, if you're following the cannabis markets, if you're following the global markets as a whole, then you'll start to get some insight as to what it is that you may need to do to get your hands dirty on that realm. I mean, look, women they'll come along, man. Like that's like the least of your concerns.
That's absolutely true. Anything else you want to say, brother?
That's pretty much it, man. I also want to thank you for having me on, man. I'm honored, man. Thank you.
No, man. Yeah, I've heard of you. I didn't know. I mean, I've seen your name with the CMPX. Yeah, complex design. I guess.
Take out the vowels. That's all.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that? I never thought about it until now. So I've seen you around, but never had you actually on my show or interact with you. So thank you for coming on, man. And
absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
No, you always welcome, man. Let's go to Paulina.
Hey,
we're gonna do a one-on-one with you too. Thank you, Paulina. If you've just been so active since you've been over here. Shout out to Sinful Up. Hey,
what up?
Okay, that's my pastor.
Look,
Saint beat a nigga up Baptist Church. Go ahead.
Like I need a word today, but anyway, no. Please, everybody, follow me on my YouTube channel, Paulina Johnson MBA. Only love, encouragement, and inspiration shared there. My field, I'm in corporate America, corporate sales career. I love traveling. And the one thing I do want to leave everyone with is that really it's all about your mind. Change your mind, you can change your life. So do not let anyone tell you, regardless of the current circumstances, that you can't. Just believe that you will, and you will. So that's all I have to say.
All right. All right. Thanks to the lovely Paulina and MOT. Man of tomorrow, man. You gotta start coming on more. I be seeing you on Research Channel. I don't think I don't be getting jealous. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He on research shit every day. He make me wait every 5 or 6 months to come on my shit. So okay, I ain't gonna say nothing, nigga.
Hey man, so anytime you want to have me on these discussions, because I'm, that money start rolling in, that second year.
Yeah, I know. I see them tax returns, player. I need to borrow about $2 off your player, just real quick.
Yep. So now I actually want to be a part of these discussions because I got stuff that I want to actually get out the door, so people can start looking, so that way they can be a part of these discussions when it comes to showing up to your city council meetings with 2 or 10 or 30 of your friends, and see the looks on everybody's faces when you show up with 30 of your homeboys and you all suited and booted and you black and you ain't saying nothing. You just sitting there and just being a part of the conversation. That really change people's minds when you do show up places that deep and stuff like that. It's just that there's a lot of stuff that we can do that we're not even taking control or even advantage of. And, once I do come out with my channel, that's why I want to kind of push things kind of toward that type of environment, is concentrating on the power that we're not using in all 50 states. So, I just need to come out here and do a hell of a lot more than I have been doing. Because, I'm a shut in and, I like reading and researching and I like peace and quiet. But, it doesn't do any good if I'm not taking that information and putting it into avenues to where it could make a difference in people's lives. And that's something that I've been failing on and other people have been getting on my case about. So I need to join these discussions and get that information out rather than just keep it to myself. So
okay, well, man, I'm glad to definitely have you, man, and I'm definitely going. We're gonna do it to tomorrow. Well, and also you're part of my think tank. So not my think tank, the Negro Manosphere's think tank. So, which is as community. So, like I said, these guys are pretty smart. So, I told Tony Mitchell, so should we do a think tank? I said, man, we're not no professional big-minded thinkers. He said, man, everything starts from somewhere. So we just picked 4 brothers, and we probably never did it like this before, but all 5 of us, we're gonna try to come out with some cool stuff, man. And there's nothing. I don't think it's never been done for African American men. Like all other groups have some sort of I know countries have think tanks, but we gonna try to do it. So. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's go to my man Ghana Dan and let him say his last words.
Hey, I appreciate everybody's time and dedication. Hopefully I've learned a lot. I hope we as a collective start putting motion behind these words. The greatest mentor you can be is to yourself, loving your own reflection in the mirror, being responsible in all your actions. People are always watching. One thing I've learned in Ghana and my travels, people pay attention to you. And you can influence people by your posture.
Yes, you
the
can.
way you interact with people, with integrity, with class. But brothers, let's put some motion behind these great ideas. Stop worrying about these dysfunctional women, and let's reach out and try to build relationships with those who want it just as bad as we do, and willing to put in some work. Good night. Thank you for your time.
All right, and last but not least, Edward Anderson, you making some really good points tonight, man. You're on fire. Anything you want to say?
Oh, me? Oh, what's up? Man, first of all, I appreciate everybody on the panel. Nice to meet you as well, Paulina.
Nice to
One
meet
of
you
the
as well,
things
Edward.
Yep. One of the things that I'll leave is with this. Although, I do, and a lot of brothers talk about being black male first. One of the things that we need to understand is when you do look at 20, 25, 30% of women that do understand the way it needs to be, in order for this to work, one of the things we have to do is we got to do a better job at, rather than complaining about women, finding the women that fit the values that we want. Now, this is assuming that you're a guy that's really got legitimate things you're talking about, not just complaining to be complaining. And that way we can disseminate those women and overprotect those women and actually allow those women. When I say to speak for us, let's be clear here. Women are able to convince women, especially in the situation that we're in. You're going to get more mileage with women telling women how it needs to be than it is men just, doing this gender warring thing. So my thing is, I've always had my eye out for women like April Mason and women like that that's been through some stuff, built their own stuff, but at the same time, they understand what it is to be an asset woman, and they're spreading that information, teaching Black women femininity that's going to work for them, not femininity for just men, but femininity so they can attract, abundance for them. And just like the really going to bat for these women, because here's the thing, a big reason you don't see women speak up as much as they otherwise would, like your Aisha Currys and stuff, is because they don't feel like they have that protection for when other women give them that backlash. And that's a part of not having the infrastructure that we need in order to protect those women. So on this call, when we talk about Black men building infrastructure, even if we have a small infrastructure there, that is going to be enough for a lot of these women to start speaking up more, so the Borg hive mind doesn't come after them and kill them. Or, metaphorically speaking. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind. So it starts small, but we can create the snowball effect. That's what I leave for everyone.
Let me say that in closing real quick. One thing I've noticed as my own like strategy is, criticizing Black women. I mean, we all see what happens with some of the women in the community and stuff like that. But the only way, and Paulina, one thing she always says is, I love to see that you guys have all these men that are coming around that are talking. And that's one thing that women understand. If they see that, there's some Black men are not on no bullshit, and Ghana Dan talked to me, we talked about this almost every day. Women slowly come around, Black men who are actually trying to be functional, not necessarily worried about what Black women are talking about. This is why I really don't waste my time responding to Black female YouTubers content or what they're doing. I think it sets us back as a group of men when we are like directly trying to address Black women, because if you do it, no matter what you say, it's going to be considered somewhat of hate speech. It's going to be considered you're hating on them or anything. I advise Black men to stay all away from that, because it's a battle that you're not going to be able to win. The battle that you can win is the battle with your own money, the battle that you have with setting up your own stuff. Like there's so much work that we could be doing. Like the brother was saying, there are grants that we can get. We don't take advantage of that. We don't have a network. We don't even operate our own media. We don't even have our own blogs. We don't even have our own forum stuff. Like these are things before we need to be worried about what they're doing is, because we can't stop Black women from doing whatever they're doing. The only way that we can have an effect is, our spending power, our voting power. And, you got to come out there, like you said, to show up to a city council meeting with 40, 50 brothers looking sharp. You know what I mean? That's how you get women to support you. You're not going to get women to support you by talking shit about them. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't work. Even if you're right, it don't work. So if it doesn't work, why are we engaging in it? And my conversations on this channel, for the most part, we conduct my content strategy as if they don't even really exist for the most part. And that's where I'm at. And I'm an ugly nigga saying this, so y'all niggas know I ain't the best. Well, I might be somewhat kind of the best looking nigga to my grandma, but nigga, I don't have these same problems these niggas have because I'm on my shit. So and that's how Black men need to be. We got a ton of money that we can operate from. We got we have content that we can, we have so much potential. We don't even really need to address them directly at all anymore. It don't even make no sense because we can move in so many different ways. And we do, and I think at some point we will need, if we want women to get it together, we're gonna need women to see, okay, there's a reason why we should be with Black men. We need to really give them that reason why they should want to listen to what we got to say. And we got men have to do things by their actions. Men don't talk. You know, men do things by their actions. I'll say this now before I'll leave. My grandma has a new husband. I call him Grandpa Albert. And he don't ever say nothing if you don't talk to him first. He one of them old niggas from Alabama or whatever. And if you don't say, he'll just look at you. Until you go talk to him, he ain't going to say shit to you. The nigga own like 4 houses. He got 2 pensions. Mm-hmm. And when he got something to say is when he'll say something to you. Mm-hmm. Because his actions do the fucking talking. And if he do got to say something to you, you know, you better listen. Because you don't want to have him to tell you the shit again. That's how it works. And that's how more black men got to be, man. This new generation of niggas, we talk too much. I don't know how many niggas, I mean, a lot of older guys, they didn't really talk a lot. They have too much to say. They let their actions speak for them. So, you know, you black men start trying to work together and help each other out and try to listen to these ideas of these guys that are very successful. I've seen Ghana Dance tax returns. I can tell you he make a lot more money than most of y'all. And man, and tomorrow I seen this tax return. I know for a fact he probably make more than all of us. Maybe I don't know about Paulina, but the nigga got money. So these men don't have to do this. They don't have to be here. Paulina, nobody on this planet has to be here. You know, Ulysses or but people come here because they're concerned about the community and stuff like that. Yeah. So we just having a fellowship, and black men need their own spaces, and so we can do that more long term without really going to war with black women as far as, you know, meeting them head on, debating. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's nothing gonna come out of that. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. We are going to try our Brother Pill podcast tomorrow with Donovan and LAR Movement. It will be called. So we're going to try one tomorrow night and see how it works out. And that will be, should you give her your number first? I'm going to call Alan Roger Curry and see if he'll jump on. We'll have a debate. And that's going to be a little different because I know, like, you know, you guys like the game approach of Donovan Sharp. But we'll do that tomorrow. Thank you guys for everything that you've done. Anybody got anything else they want to say before I get up out of here?
Not at all.
Nothing? Okay.
No, good night.
Peace, everybody.